Okay, we're going to start our meeting. Welcome to our meeting this evening. We appreciate your coming and joining us. Please turn off your cell phones or put them to stun so that nobody don't ring during the meeting. And we're going to have a roll call by our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
Okay, we're going to have two things we're going to do. First, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, which is going to be led by Deputy Mayor Franklin, and then we're going to have an invocation. Is Leslie Brazier here? Is Leslie? Where's Leslie? Oh, okay. So if you want to come up here, there you can. And, she's parliamentarian for the Rancho Buena Vista chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. So welcome, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance first, and then you may do the invocation. So if you all please rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we pray. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for loving us and for your boundless grace and mercy. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, Judy Ritter, and for our city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I ask that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their work. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Vista. It is in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, in accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to the Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. The next thing is the approval of our agenda by our City Manager, Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes this evening.
Okay, we have two presentations tonight, and our first one is a presentation by Dan McAllister, San Diego County Treasurer and Tax Collector. So welcome to our city, and we'll look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Uncharacteristic. I'm used to thunderous applause when I arrive. Not here, not tonight. But I tell you, this is almost like coming home. I learned how to swim in the pool at Vista High a long time ago because I spent my summers up here growing up. So it's always a pleasure to be back home. And Vista is a great city. And you do a great job, and this is always wonderful to come to. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Secondly, and most importantly from my standpoint, are taxes. Nobody likes to hear about taxes, and everybody asks for a discount. Not much we can do there because we don't grant them. But I would like to just give you kind of an update of where we are, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and maybe this will be of some benefit to your constituents as well because everybody pitches in to pay their taxes every year. This past year, my office sent out 989,089 bills to that many parcel numbers in San Diego County. It's moving up. It's moving northward. The valuations are up countywide. The prices, as we all know, are up countywide. And sadly, affordable housing becomes more and more of a stretch and a reach, and we know that story. But all of it seems to be based on a number of things. Supply and demand is what we've come up with as the most logical reason. There's a huge demand on housing in this area, and there's limited supply. whereas we used to see developers build tracts of 1,000 or 2,000 at a time. They now do 20 or 50 or 100 at a time, maybe 250 max. But it's still not the number to meet the needs of people coming to San Diego County and living in this great location. It's something I'm sure we'll have to wrestle and wrestle with for many years to come. But thank you for doing what you're doing to try to help increase the supply because it does help everybody, I think. The other things I wanted to point out are that valuations countywide were up 5.6% this last year, which is fairly high. The assessor predicts that this year will be about 4%, not quite as high, but still upward. I think that the other couple of things here on this particular part of my list is to say that our collection rates are way up. In the last 3 years, we've surpassed 99%. This year, we hit 99.3%. Which is an all-time high for our office. Once again, I think it's a good sign of the economy and the economic times that we're in. And while a number of people still are trying to pull up and trying to get up, times are better than they were, and that's a positive for our economy overall. The other thing that we're seeing is a flight to the electrical pay interests, and we're trying to stimulate and foster more online payment of taxes. We now have a website that's set up, actually a special way that people can be reminded. 270,000, about 25% of all taxpayers in San Diego County now are signed up to receive a reminder twice, once during the first season of giving and once during the second season of giving. And it seems to work very well because within 24 to 48 hours, we see literally millions of dollars come in electronically to the banks that we work with in terms of bringing those dollars home to the county for redistribution to where they might land later. But I think that's a good sign. 58% now of all payers pay us online. That's a big, big jump from just 10 years ago where we were in the 30s. And things we attribute this to, I think, are A, as more and more people are comfortable using computers and making those payments that they can check and double check and recheck and do get a receipt for online are easier now. And people see that and they're jumping on that bandwagon. Our goal is 100% electronic payments, but we think we're still a few years away from that. I think the other couple of notes on tax collection I wanted to add are that our office now speaks 17 different languages. And I think that's indicative of the times we are in and the place we live. This is a wonderful place for people to relocate and come to our great county. And people come to us from all over the world. And I'm not talking about fences or anything else tonight. I'm talking about just the fact that we want to serve our customers and we want to make sure that we're able to reach out and educate the customers who come from other countries or other cultures where sometimes they don't pay a real estate tax when they buy a house or a property. They may pay a fee, a sales tax, maybe sadly under the podium tax to some officials in some of those countries. But here we have a tradition in California in all 58 counties, which is equal, and that is that everybody must pay their property taxes. And so to be able to educate them, we have been able to tap into, I think, a certain dividend that comes with many of the new cultures here in San Diego, and that is that as their children become the first-generation college graduates, they still retain the ability to speak their home language. And so we have been able to hire a number of these young people to come on board with us, and they have enabled us to better educate some of the new people who are new Americans and new San Diegans on the ways of tax collection. And it seems to be working. I think it all contributes to that 99.3% collection rate that I talked about a couple minutes ago. It all helps, and that's important. I did bring you some material, probably more than you wanted, but this one is a bill you will not have to pay. For the audience, there are extras in the hallway. If you ever wanted a bill that you didn't have to pay, this is the night to get it. But this is our tax bill. It's a mock-up of what we send out every year. If you ever have suggestions as to how we can better change that, we like to hear them. We do focus groups every year from people in the public, taxpayers, to help us understand better ways to present the bill. And much of what you see on this bill is a byproduct of taxpayers who have given us their input for the last probably 14 years or so. A couple of things is the insert that is inside the tax bill. It also helps, I think, to reinforce the pay online and save time message. But on the back is a pie chart which talks about how the dollars are allocated throughout the San Diego County region based on what is paid. Last but certainly not least is the fact that we have increased the number of dollars that we manage in the investment pool of San Diego County. This past year, we passed Orange County. We are now the second largest investment pool in the state of California, having managed this past year $10.5 billion. We manage assets for all 42 public school districts in county, all 5 community college districts, many agencies throughout San Diego County, and at about 210 total. Different public agencies, cities, as well as public agencies throughout the region that have asked us to help them and guide them a little bit on some of these investment opportunities. With me tonight are 2 members of my staff, and I wanted to introduce Hank Kim back here, who is our Chief Investment Officer for the county, and Tom Palicelli, who is the Chief Deputy Treasurer for San Diego County. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I just thank you for your time.
Councilor Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam. So every year my taxes go up for my property tax, but I was just curious, by what percentage does that go up? At one time when the economy was down in 2008-9, it went down considerably. Now it's creeping back up very quickly. What is the maximum these people can expect their taxes to go up on their properties?
It's a great question. Thank you. It's a 2-part answer, actually. Under the law, under Prop 13, which was passed in 1978, it says basically that taxes cannot increase by more than 2% of the original 1% that you are taxed upon purchase of the property. So it can go up just 2% of that 1% per year. What has thrown a number of wrenches into the works in the last few years is that a number of public entities have opted to issue bonds, school districts in particular. And as they have issued these bonds, those payback schedules fall to the tax bill in the jurisdiction in which the bonds were issued. So community colleges have issued them, school districts have issued them. I will tell you the airport has issued them. The airport in San Diego is now about a $1.5 to $2 billion facelift. Nobody quite knows what the face will look like when it's finished, but that's underway. Sandag has issued bonds. MTS, the transit system for the county, has issued bonds. As they have issued these bonds, that money has come to us to manage in many ways, and we serve as more or less a fund controller or the bank for those projects, and they draw down the monies once they finish the work. And those are the ways that I see tax bills going up.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilmember Green.
Hello, thank you so much for coming tonight. When I was running for office, I learned that each city receives a different percentage of their tax bill per dollar. So we get, I don't know what it is, like 15 cents, 14 cents per dollar or something like that. And different cities get more. And it was my understanding it was negotiated when we chartered back in the 60s or something like that. And my question to you is as the years go on and revenues increase and things change, is there ever an opportunity for a city like ours to receive more money on our tax bills than what we're receiving? I mean, the average citizen, maybe you don't know, that means 86 cents of every dollar doesn't come back to Vista. So like an extra penny on that with the amount of houses we have make a big difference. So I don't know if you're the guy we got to send flowers and chocolate to get more tax dollars, but how do we look at that, and do they ever change that. So
Please, no chocolate, no flowers. I'm okay. But I will call your attention to this because we do feel your pain on the pie chart that's listed here on the insert. And it doesn't directly answer your question, and I will in a second, but the county only receives 13.2% of discretionary monies out of every dollar that comes in. So we feel your pain. It's lower than your amount. I would like to say to you that we would be happy to meet with your city team, your manager, at any time, council, to see if we can't sit down with the assessor and discuss that issue. I think it's a great question, and you're not alone. Other cities are feeling the same pain because every dime counts. Thank you for the question.
Okay, seeing no other questions, then we'll thank you. Thank you for your report. We appreciate you coming to Vista and making a report to us. That's important. So
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. Our next presentation is Brett Schatzenbach, the Chief Executive Officer of the Vista Chamber of Commerce, and he's going to present our 2017 Strawberry Festival post-event report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. Nice to see you all. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share and report on how our event went for 2017. Click. Does clicking work? No? There we go. Okay. I know you got an exciting meeting coming up tonight, so we'll keep this brief and short. We had a very good year. We estimate we had over 100,000 people attend once again this year. We had 415 street fair vendors, which was 5% growth from just the previous year, an all-time high. 2,200 runners in the Strawberry Run. That was down a little bit. Oh, it's going on its own now. Which was down a little bit, mostly because of our program with the school district changed this year, and so we had less kids who ran in the event than we had in the past, but our 10K, 5K was very strong. We did have runners from 10 different states, 7 different counties in Southern California, and every city, community that's part of San Diego County. Click. There we go. The run participation, as I mentioned, we had 1,815 10K, 5K runners, which that portion matched the highest we've ever had before, which is great. 30% of the runners were from Vista. Another 36% were from other cities along the 78 corridor. 14% from other parts of our county, and then other parts of Southern California, and then almost 2% were from out-of-state runners, which is nice little tourist dollars. As you know, we work really hard to get the word out about this event and to get Vista out there through this event. So we have a big PR distribution that comes along with the event. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but we did get actually mentioned in the New York Times on May 22nd this year, which was nice. Just a little blurb, but still great. We also got mentioned by Logan Jenkins in his column in the UT on May 25th. And if you're familiar with Logan Jenkins, periodically he'll do his roses and raspberries, and he gives a raspberry to something he's not happy with and a rose to something he's impressed with. But he gave us a very sweet raspberry in his column and went on to talk about the history of strawberries in Vista and about our event a little bit, and then he related it back to his love of raspberries. But still, it was great. We were in 7 local print publications. We had great TV coverage. We were on KUSI ahead of time, and I'm not sure how many of you saw this beautiful little picture there of Kent from my office receiving a strawberry pie in the face on live TV the day of the event, courtesy of Allie Wagner, as she presented him with that gift. If you haven't seen it, please check Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all over the place, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of radio coverage, mostly through Univision, and then a ton of social media promotion and exposure. And then, of course, throughout town, different posters, banners, and the like. Oh, there we go. So our social media presence, as always, was very large, and everywhere. We had 4.6 million impressions just on Facebook alone, with over 3,000 engaged users. And then in Instagram, our hashtag Vista Strawberry Festival was used over 1,300 times, which is great. That's a lot of little videos people did of themselves, pictures of themselves at the event. And so you see a lot of people enjoying themselves and giving love back to Vista by using the hashtag and the like. Our website traffic was ginormous. Our VistaStrawberryFestival.com site, 28,000 sessions, which resulted in almost 82,000 page views, and it's only the last 2 weeks of May, those statistics, which of course are the prime time for the event. Over 21,000 users. This year, to try and help with that and to avoid any website crashing, we actually created an app, and I don't have the statistics yet on how many people downloaded the app, but the app was great. It allowed people to access the schedule, the map of the event, and then different social media feeds and things like that. And so we really wanted to try out the app with our volunteers to mobilize them to very quickly be able to answer questions, but we also promoted it to attendees as well. So we're still evaluating how effective we thought it was and possible use in the future, but that was kind of a new endeavor for us. Cost a lot of money to put this event on, actually it was just shy of $145,000 this year. The bulk of that is spent with vendors and companies right here in Vista, and then another large portion is spent with other service providers in North County. So we try to follow the same mantra that we preach and that you do, shop local and keep those dollars local. So we work hard on that. The future does have some challenges. As you all know, 100 Main Street is no longer available for anybody's event, not just ours, but anybody's event. So that's been a very productive lot for us for our carnival rides. We've already engaged discussions with the Vista Unified School District about potentially utilizing the Magnet Middle School for carnival rides, and they're open to it. So if those end up being fruitless, however, in the end, I might be coming back to talk to all of you about some other ideas, and hopefully we'll get some support. We still want to keep this as a one-day event in our downtown area. Every year, people come to us and say, when are you going to expand it to be a full weekend or this or that? And, because our event involves closing down streets and impacting businesses, we really don't want to expand it to a multi-day event. The businesses are fairly agreeable to losing a Sunday, and a lot of them are, restaurants and other forms of retail that can get some benefit out of the Strawberry Fest, but we don't really want to impact their businesses for a Saturday and a Sunday and things like that. So we really want to keep it just a one-day event. It's a lot of work for one day, but that's pretty much our goal. We do want to expand onto Paseo Santa Fe corridor. We talked with staff about this year. Some of the logistics we couldn't quite bring together to make it happen this year, but we've now had some good discussions with traffic control to make those possible for next year. So our plan, at least for next year, is to put booths all in front of Sonic on that portion of Paseo Santa Fe for the event, and so we would be keeping that part of Santa Fe closed for the entire event, not just during the run next year. That's our goal, and we intend to make that happen for growth purposes. There we go. Our hope is to get to 450 next year in terms of vendors. 2,000 10K, 5K runners. Again, I'm not talking about the overall run, the kids run. We hope to kind of boost that back up a little bit, but again, depending on what kind of promotion we can get through the school district will affect that, and some of that's out of our control. But we want to grow the 10K, 5K that would be a 10% growth in 1 year just of the 10K, 5K. So that's aggressive, but that's our goal. We want to keep the course the same, although this might possibly be the last year we can have the 10K course that we've had because of development, which is a good thing. Sycamore Creek Mobile Home Park, as all of you know, is going to be developed, and so depending on how long it takes for them to get all their permits, could be quite lengthy because they're dealing with so many jurisdictions there involving the creek. But we're hoping to squeeze one more year in with our current course, but then we'll have to adjust as that that area gets developed. Our 5-year goal is to get to 550 vendors and 125,000 attendees. So we continue to want to expand this, grow this, bring more people to our community. And just as a little anecdotal story about one of the benefits of doing this, my dental hygienist, her parents just moved down from the Bay Area not long ago, and temporarily they're living with her while they evaluate places to purchase a home. And she told me that after her parents participated in the 10K run, that they told her they wanted to start looking at houses in Vista. They had only been looking coastal, but they loved the trails and the Bringle Terrace Park portion of the 10K so much. They're like, we got to start looking at homes in Vista. And that is why we do events like this, to bring people to showcase the best of what our community has to offer. And, so we're really pleased when we hear little stories like that show the effect of the event. That concludes my presentation. Unless any of you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share, good, bad, or indifferent, I'd be happy to answer or hear them.
I don't see any comments, but I'd like to thank you. I think it's a great event at downtown, so I'm always happy to go down there. And I don't run, but I watch the runners.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brett.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public can remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk's secretary, and items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. And our items on the consent are C1 through C8. So if I don't see anyone, I don't have anything pulled from the public, and so if I don't have anything from the council, I'd like a motion. Councilmember Aguilera.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar as proposed.
Okay, Councilmember Rigby.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passed unanimously. Sorry. Okay, so then moving on to our other items. Our first item is a discussion items, and the first one is the Solutions for Change request for funding. And actually, I brought that item forward because, and I'm hoping, is Chris Megason here? Yeah, so I'm going to have him help. So I'll just a little background. And as a result of the federal and state policy changes initiated through the prior administration and then implemented here locally through the San Diego County Continuum of Care, Solutions for Change can no longer receive homeless assistance funding. They chose not to take the funds because to do so would mean they would have to abandon the core values that our employees, the city, and those they serve, and their stakeholder public have come to depend on. Central to the mission of Solutions for Change is maintaining a drug-free housing environment for their families. For 2 decades, they could require they would require that their program to participate to submit to drug testing, and if found positive, they would intervene early, help them with relapse services, and would exit them from their housing if they had to. Combined with extensive network, education, and workforce training regimes, they found that fewer than 5% test positive. So, but HUD rules have stripped them of that ability to maintain those key organizational and program policies. So, anyway, so I'd like to hear probably from Chris if he's here, and he could, do that. But so one of the things is they're asking for funding. They've lost their funding by not taking the federal funding. They've lost their funding, and so they're asking for actually $140,000 from our city. So I'd like to hear from Chris about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was reminiscing of the first time I was here in front of the City Council. It was 18 years ago, back in that shack that you had back there. And at that time, Solutions for Change had just started up. We were in the church right across the street here at All Saints Episcopal. We had about 20 homeless kids. We had a lot of need here in the community, but we needed investment funding. And we got some of that money from some of the business folks in the industrial park. But I remember coming to the mayor back then and saying, we have all this need and all these kids, and would you consider $100,000? And she schooled me on how big of a request that was, and that, that would have to come from the general fund. Solutions for Change wasn't a housing developer as we are today, where we could use housing funds. And so in In a amazing move, the City Council decided to invest $100,000 into Solutions for Change. And I just want to tell you what that initial investment has done for the city since then. Since that time, we've brought 850 families and 2,200 kids from deep poverty, from homelessness, from kids living in cars, tents, worse. From that, about 278 around there, I just went through our database and pulled out families came from Vista. So when you think of, on average, over the years, that we spend about $60,000 to take a family from dependency and totally destitute to a family that we deliver back to the community, which is now off welfare, TANF, food stamps, employed, and healthy. We've spent about $17.4 million just for the Vista families. In that, that $100,000 represented about 0.5% to deliver that kind of savings, that kind of impact. And also from that, we track the cost savings to the public. We have saved over $51 million in taxpayer funds since we started and delivered about $120,000 of earned income through jobs back into this community because all the people that came to us were unemployed and dependent. And so those are some stats for you, but what I want to tell you is that as we stand here now, the request today is to firewall and protect Solutions for Change from losing that investment and what we've done in this city, because the federal government now, for a lot of reasons that I know most of you here are familiar with, has decided that the way to solve homelessness is through a new design called Housing First. And in the Housing First design, they require nonprofits like Solutions to house active drug addicts in our sober programs and strip us of our ability to do our required workforce training. So it came down last year. We said no. They said you have to. And after 25 years of being a partner with the taxpayer, we voluntarily gave back $600,000 to the federal and state government. Since then, my board said, hey, go back to the cities and the county and ask them to help. And I said, I'm going to the private sector because I think people here are amazing. They'll step up. And they did. Our crowdfunding campaign that we did at the end of the year was amazing. We generated $300,000 in a blitz just from people giving $24 a month and helping us. But it wasn't enough to make up the shortfalls. And now we're into the second fiscal year, and we just have not been able to recover fully. So what we have asked is all 5 cities to consider a one-time bridge funding to allow us here to make up what's happened and give us the opportunity to pivot and find the long-term solutions that we know we can find if given the time. In fact, last year when this happened from HUD, we figured we were 2 years away from putting a flag in the ground and saying to the people of not just Vista, but the country, that the people here in Vista, California, had with us developed a free market social enterprise solution at 100% funded by the private sector with 0 federal and state dollars. And the reason why we can say that is because that cool farm a couple miles from here, that thing is growing more certified organic lettuce, and we're selling that. Our people run that farm, and that lettuce is getting sold to the school district. I wish they would open up already. And others here who buy the produce, and then that social enterprise revenue goes back in to help replace the funding. So that's an overview of where we're at, and we're asking all the cities to come forward and help. San Marcos actually has already done so. And the other cities, we've run into a couple little bumps in Escondido, for example, but I met with 3 council folks there yesterday, and they have, John Mason and Michael have agreed to take it forward and ask for the funds versus the mayor, who, for whatever reasons, we still haven't figured out quite yet why Mayor Abed wouldn't do that, but that's okay, the other council members. So we're here to ask you to make another investment. I can't guarantee you that's going to result in $17 million and all the impact that we've delivered, but it's going to protect what you and all of us here in Vista have grown and brought forward here for our city. So thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, I don't know if they have any questions right now, but I have 4 other speakers, so we'll hear the other speakers, and then if they have questions, then you can come back and ask, okay? So Amber, is it Gann? Is Amber? Should we follow by Jennifer Pankey?
I'm Amber Gann, and I'm a resident and participant at Solutions for Change. I've been there approximately 15 months. Before coming to Solutions for Change, I was homeless due to drug addiction, this generational gap. My mother was a single mother, used drugs, men, and so that was the only thing I was completely taught. I've tried to get clean and sober before, and I was actually housed in a Housing First facility in 2013. And I eventually ended up relapsing because my neighbors would, use drugs, sell weapons, ammunition, and this was in Vista. And I have lived in Vista my whole life. Any drugs I've ever done is in Vista. Any crime I've ever committed is in Vista. My CDC number was W87762. I have, since coming to Solutions for Change, I decided to get clean again. I had my kids removed after the Housing First incident, and I'm like, well, what did I get wrong? So I really researched. I went to a residential treatment program in Oceanside. I really researched, okay, what am I missing? I know I don't want to use drugs. I know I don't want to commit crime. So I completed my treatment there. I researched, and I couldn't find anywhere a safe housing place for my children and myself. There is none other like it than Solutions for Change. And when I came in, they said, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But sometimes the hard thing and the right thing are the same thing. And so Solutions has provided me a place where I got up, suited up, showed up, starting the very next day I came there. I did employment-related training from, I got up at 5:30 in the morning. I was done at 4 o'clock in the evening. And then about 5 months of that, 4 or 5 months of that, I was able to attend classes. And these classes were the key to success here. Servant leadership, emotional intelligence, financial empowerment, parenting. And so I found out the reasons, why it's ingrained in me that I was taught this way. So I found out, I completely suck at relationships. I'm really bad with money. I can totally be a better parent. And so since coming to Solutions about 15 months ago, I voted for the first time this year. I paid my taxes for the first time in 3 years. I'm employed in Vista. I'm a support and recovery for any addict or alcoholic that's out there. I hold 2 commitments here in Vista. I work in Vista. I work at the aquaponics farm, so I get to work with addicts, alcoholics, domestic violence, and children every single day to guide them in their recovery and guide them. Some people have never had a job. Some people have never paid taxes. And so I do this because I want to, because I've taken so much from this city. I've completely been a loser, and I really want to give back. So I have full custody of my children now. I bought a vehicle. Yes, my children go to school in Vista, so I just wanted to, say that Solutions for Change really works. So.
Thank you, and congratulations. Jennifer Pankey, followed by Danny Osborne.
Good evening. I'm totally not nervous, so I will, I'll do my best. So I love the city of Vista, but I haven't always shown love for the city of Vista. My story is much like Amber's. For the majority of my life, I terrorized these streets. In fact, the dope house was right down the street from here. I was a taker, whether it was from the government, getting cash aid and assistance, or just the citizens. It didn't matter to me. So I guess what I really want to say is Solutions for Change took a dope, sick addict like me and infused me with self-worth, trust, and accountability. For the past 8 years, I have been clean and sober. I'm a graduate of the program. I'm not in the program. I have left that a long time ago, and I still have that base of not only recovery but support. I'm a tax-paying member of society. I've been employed with the same job for this whole time. My daughters, I'm a single mom of 2 beautiful daughters, and they come home and they tell me that I'm their hero, which is something that I never had, something that I never thought I would ever hear. It's definitely something that I never had in my own family. Those are things that normal people do, and I look at that, and it's probably, not a huge ordeal, but for me, it's breaking that generational cycle of addiction and abuse. And the key factor for me was accountability. If I could get away with it, I would. It didn't matter. Drugs were the most important thing in my life. And it took a program that was longer than 6 months or a year. It took 3 years for me to reprogram myself, to change as a human being. And it's still an everyday occurrence. It doesn't just stop. I don't stop getting better. I'm a manager now. I'm going back to school. I'm a productive member of society. And the main thing that I do today is I give back. And the city of Vista has always been kind to me. The amazing thing about Solutions for Change is that I'm not the only one that this has worked for. We have 140 families enrolled every single day and have helped hundreds of families get out of poverty, stay out of poverty, and change their lives. And what it does for us is that the kids that we're raising don't ever have to know that kind of dysfunction in their household. They don't ever have to go through what I went through. I just would urge you that if you can find it in your hearts to help us through this, it would be amazing. And I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Danny Osborne, followed by June Escoveira. Thanks, Danny.
Someone's phone or recorder or something.
No, that's for the, don't do it.
Okay, sorry. Well, good evening. It's good to see you again. I can't remember if I was here last month or the month before. On my docket last time was a Solution for Change with the property right across from my house at 820 Francis Drive. They're still abandoned there. They're still dumping trash behind it. And it's a terrible thing. That part of this Solution for Change is ugly and requires more attention to keep their properties clean regularly. That's all I have to say about that. I think they do a good service to the people that need it. I'm not trying to get down on the people.
Okay.
Okay, my other thing I want to talk about is 812 Francis Drive, which is an illegal marijuana distribution center right next to my house, right across the street from a Solution for Change's building. And I know that the city council is all about having funds to do things for the city and with the city and in the city. Well, these people are illegal, no permit at all. They're open 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. 7 days a week, and they pay nothing to the city or the state. So I have a question for the city council. What is the city of Vista doing with facilities like this? I saw that 986 Vista Village Drive is shut down. That was also one. But this is the Walmart Supercenter of distribution centers right next door to my house. So what's being done?
Well, we work on them, but it takes a long time sometimes to get them closed up. But if we know where they're there, we might be working on it already.
I'm sure there's a lot that I don't see. You know, I'm a federal employee, and these are real young kids. They got to be 21, I suppose. They all have medical marijuana cards, so it's not a social use, so there's no revenue for the city of Vista to have these. The traffic flow is extreme. If they're going to stay in business for a little while, I would like to invite the city of Vista to put 3 cameras on my property, one at the back door so you can see all the people that go in, one in the parking lot and one on the street, to see the impact that this business has on this little street of Francis. I welcome you.
Okay, we have an attorney that works on it full-time, so
I have an
we're-
attorney as well, and he's been in contact with that attorney, so,
It's a she.
or she, I'm sorry. He's the one that makes the contact, not me. But I'm disappointed with these facilities. I don't think they help the city youth. I think it also makes it more unsafe for the citizens of Vista. And, well, thank you for your time. I'm sorry to go long.
It's okay, thank you. Thanks for bringing it to our attention, we appreciate it. June is it Esquerra? Esquerra. Okay, sorry, and it's followed by Joshua Tienda.
My name's June Esquerra. I am a
Talk right in the microphone here so we can hear
I'm
you.
a Vista resident, and I also I work for the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. I first want to applaud all of the participants that came up and shared their story and their success, but I'm ultimately here to advocate for housing first. San Diego County, the other cities, the San Diego Housing Commission, other nonprofit agencies, they're going low barrier. There are other agencies that have done the work that they've needed to do, go low barrier to get the homeless people off the streets. So if we're looking at housing the homeless, the only way to do that is to provide them a place to live. So I just wanted to advocate for housing first, and encourage the City Council to explore options that are housing first, that coincide with HUD policies and initiatives, to be progressive with the rest of the city. There's other cities that are going housing first that have made great strides. Salt Lake City, Houston, they've adopted housing first. They've done and have evidence of, alleviating veteran homelessness using housing first principles and really reducing their occurrence of homelessness on their streets. So that's all.
Okay, Councilman Franklin, did you want to ask her a question? Or Deputy Mayor Franklin?
Well, I don't mind asking a question. I was going to make a comment, but you wouldn't suggest that a program, or do you support the idea that some programs, the Housing First model isn't necessarily the right fit for ones that serve families with children and who have a drug-free environment? The concern that's raised, and I support the idea that there have to be programs that serve homeless who are drug addicted, but I also believe that a program like Solutions that provides a place for families with children that wants to be drug free, I think that's very important to allow. Do you agree with that, or does it not fit with your position?
I can't speak for the families that are they might have active child welfare cases. If they're working with the appropriate, their social workers, CW at Child Welfare or CPS, and they have gotten their children back, or they have an active plan to reunify, then I do believe that a housing first principle can be effective. If you're homeless, if you're chronically homeless, to work on some of the very difficult things that homeless people need to work on, budgeting, having an address so that they can seek services, is challenging. So I do believe that if they are working with supportive services, Housing First is effective, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua? He's followed by Judy Davis, who is followed by Tom Fleming.
Thank you. Actually, that was a good tee up, because I believe it was last week the city of San Diego spent about $125 million on homelessness, and it's a crisis, and of course, a great majority of the homelessness is lack of for housing, but the majority of the homeless issues has to do with substance dependence, and to me, Solutions for Change not only gives a handout to people who in those kind of situations, but helps them overcome those situations so they can be productive citizens, give back to the community, and not be just a drag. They can be actually productive citizens. So to me, it would be a net positive investment to invest in Solutions for Change, because then you can have people not only getting services, but actually coming out of that lifestyle so they can give back to the community. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Judy Davis. Is Judy here? Okay, followed by Tom Fleming.
Hi, thank you. I'm just wondering why he would want $140,000, I think it was $1,000 from the city of Vista. If he would just accept the HUD payment, he would get that money. Some of the people that were already here talking, if you realize that they were actually on drugs when they went into the program, he was able to help them with that. I don't understand why he would not accept money now from HUD, just because his point of view is he doesn't want drug people in his program. Drug people, they do have children, they are homeless just like anybody else is, and if those funds are available, then he should take those funds and work with families who have parents who are drug addicted as well. He brings up all of these wonderful stats of how well he's doing. Has anybody ever checked into why other people in the program has failed? Is it due to perhaps their rules and their regulations, and perhaps how people work in the garden area, and apparently they're not paid under that for wages as well too? There's different things that need to be looked at on the other side before you do make a decision regarding giving away $140,000 funds when it can be given through another organization. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom Fleming.
Good evening, Council. My name's Tom Fleming, and I just want to stand with Solutions for Change. Most of you up there, I'm sure, have been to there and you know the program inside and out. This is not a program that's a housing program. It's not designed for a place where you can just hang out. It is a graduation. If you've listened to the first couple of people, they spoke of their graduating from there. It's a program that doesn't just house people for the sake of housing. You can put up tents and put people in housing all day long, and that'll get them a covered up shelter, but it won't get them off of the problems that they're in. They've got to find solutions, and it is a program that teaches the person how to live. It teaches them how to manage their funds. It teaches them how to work. It teaches them that work is good, that it's a positive result. From doing hard work, you get good results. You don't have to have it handed to you. It's not something that everybody gets a trophy at the end of the day. It's those who succeed win, and they're great for our city and for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I have one last speaker, Matthew Menke. You just turned his speaker slip in.
Wanted to say a couple of things.
Okay.
I have a property next door to Solutions and their project, their farm, and I have to say, in the 15 months that they were there before I left, they were always extremely clean. They did everything they could as a good neighbor for making their project look and be a success. I'm 36 years clean and sober. I still get a little nervous before city council, especially mean-looking guys like that kind of they did a lot of stuff in our neighborhood. When they first started to move in, I was really concerned because I didn't want my prices of the neighborhood to go down, but then I had to remember where I came from because I too was homeless for a long time. And I know that unless you start off clean and sober, you don't end up anywhere good. You have to be able to set some ground rules. All the rehabs I went to, they were all about that. I went to a lot of rehabs speaking, so it's a lot easier for me to speak in front of other addicts than it is in front of businessmen. But I'll tell you, they do a good job from what I can see. I haven't dug deep into it, but they've done nothing but good for me as a neighbor, so I welcome. Well, I know we have a social obligation to them, so anything I can do as a neighbor for solutions, I always reach out and try to do. I think as a city of Vista, we roll with pride. We want to make sure that those that are homeless, it's our responsibility in our city, right? Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's the last of our speakers. And I also have a letter here that's included in your packets. That's from the Congress, and it has it's signed by 23 congressmen asking Ben Carson, who's the Secretary of HUD, to change the rules so that they can they don't have to allow people that are on drugs into their program. So, Councilmember Deputy Mayor Franklin, are you again? Okay.
I just wanted to start off by underscoring how important I think it is for people who have decided to get clean and sober to have a housing option that it doesn't involve living next door to people who are actively using drugs. I don't think that's a Republican or a Democrat or a rich or a poor philosophy. I think we can all understand that if you're a recovering drug addict and you live next to somebody who's actively using drugs, that presents a real danger to the recovering addict and a very real probability that a relapse is in the near future. So, I also strongly endorse the idea that there have to be housing options for individuals who are drug addicted. We do need programs to house them and then get them into treatment. But it is very important that we have programs like this that are for folks who really understand that they've got an opportunity to turn their life around, who are willing to invest in themselves. And so I think that's what's great about the solutions model. I think the idea that people can, through time and learning, can change their life. So, I support the model and the program. I do want to hear from staff on our options here. It's not in my 2.5 years we haven't been approached with this kind of request in the past, and I want to kind of understand what the financial impact is and whether whether it's something that we can afford to do.
Councilmember Green.
Obviously, staff want to hear financially exactly as Councilmember Franklin had. I had a question also for Mr. Megason as well, if you can come up. I did read your letter, and it looked like you were short $700,000, and I know you were asking 5 cities for $140,000 each. Right now, you have 1 city who's committed to it out of the 5. It seems like if we commit to the 140 and you don't get it from the other cities, it's just kind of a drop in the bucket and doesn't really, solve your whole problem. Do you have a backup plan? And then the other thing is it also said in there that if Carson doesn't approve the senators, 22 people who sign it, we might be coming back and asking for another 140,000 next year too. So when staff is giving us that report financially, what would that look for? What would that look like? Where's the money coming from? So I'll let you start with that, and then I have one more question also for staff afterwards.
The request has been received by all the mayors and we gave it directly to the mayors and the city managers. And so we don't know exactly how that, whether or not each request is going to be approved or not. So I can't really give you that information. I do know that Escondido, I had to go there yesterday and talk to the city council folks, and they said that the two of them said that they would bring it forward to the council and were very supportive of it. And I have talked to council folks in Oceanside. Jerry Kern has also agreed to take it forward. And in Carlsbad, I have to do some work there. So I can't tell you whether or not the other cities will approve it. But what I can tell you is this, is that, let's say just 3 cities approve it. Well, that's 140 times 3. That is a significant amount of funds compared to having 0 or having even 140. So if we rely on all the cities to do it or none of them to do it, then that will that would be a real tragedy for us. So all I can say is that if a city says no, we're going to continue. We don't just give up at Solutions for Change, so we might have to wait 3 months and go back, or 6 months, or 8 months, but we will not just give up. We can't. We don't have that luxury to just give up. And we aren't stopping with just the local municipalities. I mean, we are all busting our backsides really hard to get the funding from the private sector as well too. So we have to look at everything, and so we don't have all the information yet. But I would imagine that in about 2 months we'll know where all the cities stand.
So even if we did decide to give, it's a huge difference for you. It's going to help. It's going to keep your doors open per se. It's not like you're going to take our money and then shut down and high five us and run away per se.
No, that will not happen.
Okay. Last question is do we have any, and I guess this is a question for city, I just don't know, do we have any Housing First homeless shelters within our city? I mean, if we just lost $600,000 of free HUD money, are there any on the, no?
No.
So we don't have any Housing First at all in our city? Okay.
Not at this time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Councilor Aguilera.
Mr. Megason, I have a question for you. One of the speakers mentioned that, why would you turn away this HUD money or the Housing First money? And my understanding of the program is that you don't have anybody that's an addict in your program. That's one of the requirements to enter your program. Can you clarify how that works?
It's actually active addiction. 72% of the people we help are recovering addicts. And when they come to our program and they have an active addiction, we are not a drug and alcohol treatment center, but we have linkage agreements with about a half a dozen treatment centers here in northern San Diego County. And so all they have to do is say, yes, I don't want to use meth anymore or heroin anymore, or I don't want to keep doing this. And then we immediately get them in. We're very good at that. After they complete that, which is 30, 60, 90 days, they come into Solutions for Change with their kids sober. And so sobriety, we have a sobriety contract that HUD wants us to eliminate. And that contract is based on our core values of 18 years, and we just can't do it. So it's that, not that we don't help them, it's that we don't allow them to actively use, and that's what HUD requires us to do, is that if a mom wants to use meth or heroin, I say, well, it's a class 1 narcotic, and this federal agency over here, the DEA, says that's a crime. But this federal agency over here says, if I knowingly know that they're using meth or heroin, I cannot exit them from my programs. I can today because I have a contract that says, if you do this, you will have to be exited. So that's the difference in terms of the issue that we face.
So if a mother or father comes with their children, yet they're still addicted, you find help of some sort?
Immediately. All they have to do is say, I want help.
And then once they graduate from that program, then you allow them to enter your program?
Because they've now treated the addiction, and we're not a treatment center, so yes.
You said there's about 140 families in your program throughout?
It actually just went up to 163 because we opened up Escondido. So Escondido is now open. It only took us 18 years to get into Escondido, so we're pretty happy about that because about 20% of the people that we serve at Solutions here come from Escondido, so it's 163 now.
Thank you. I appreciate what you've done in our community, and I appreciate having your speakers here. That took a lot of guts for them to come up here and speak. and I congratulate them, and I wish you the best and continue the hard work.
Can I just say that they are solutionizer rock stars?
I agree. Yeah. The way I look at this is, Solutions is asking for about $140,000 from the city of Vista. We're looking at 140 now, maybe 160 families that are being helped by this program. So I look at putting $1,000 towards each family, which could be a family of 3 or 4. So we're probably talking at least 500 people, including kids. And if that's what it takes to keep them off the streets, then I'm all for it.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I want to say thank you, Chris, for being here. And I want to say thank you to your speakers. I know that that's not easy to do, to get up and speak in front of a group full of people. Even I still get butterflies in my tummy when I have to speak with the gallery here. And you know that I've been a big supporter of your program. I think that what we have seen from Solutions for Change is one of the few programs that I've seen that actually works, that actually helps people end homelessness for good and get their lives on track. This is a lot of money, however, $140,000 for our city and for our budget. And before I can say yes to $140,000 just off the top of my head here, I would have to agree with Deputy Mayor Franklin. I'd want to know exactly where it's coming from. And because we don't have a large general fund like some of our neighboring cities do, we don't have a large general fund to work with indiscriminately. Obviously, we would have to put something on a back burner or eliminate a program, a project, or some development that we're working on in order to pay for this. And so it's not that I want to say no. I don't have enough information right now to say yes.
I think that we can have money in our affordable housing funds, and so I would like to have maybe our city manager can address that.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. As was stated, our general fund and CDBG, as might be thought about, are not the appropriate funding sources for a request like this, but rather the Affordable Housing Fund. There is a nexus for Solutions for Change. Typically, the Affordable Housing Fund is used for capital items, for supporting a project. It is possible to use that for an operational purpose. We haven't done that in the past. Currently, our Affordable Housing Fund has 2 main projects that are slated. One is approved by you and going forward, and the other is coming before you likely in the next month or 2. And the bulk of our affordable housing balance is going to be used for those. If you would like, if your recommendation is to go forward, staff will evaluate it and give you a financial breakdown of the funds that we have going forward that are not allocated and provide that to you. But the money would, if it does come from somewhere, it would come from the Affordable Housing Fund.
Deputy Mayor Franklin.
I was going to suggest a sense of council that we ask the staff to prepare a more thorough report on the financial impact and to bring this back to us in the near-term future for a final decision. But I know that we do have essentially, because we eliminated inclusionary housing, we do not have, we're not actively growing the amount of money in that fund, in the housing fund. And so based on some pending obligations that we've already made, I want to make sure that we're structured the right way and we can afford to do it. So if there's a sense of council to give that direction to staff to bring us back a full analysis and then bring the question back to us.
Councilmember Rigby.
I was just going to reiterate or echo Deputy Mayor Franklin. I think that's agreeable.
Okay, is that enough? Okay, we have enough direction? Okay. Oh, Councilmember Aguilar.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was going to agree as well.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so it'll be brought back to us at a later time. Okay, so moving on in our agenda, I think that because these people have been here for a long time, could we flip D2 and D3? Would that be all right with everybody? And because they have a lot of kids out there and people want to go home, I think, after a bit. So, okay, so with that, we will go on to D3. And Councilmember, it's Bub Livingston Park renovations, and Councilmember Rigby requested that this item be put on the agenda, so I'm going to ask her to introduce the item. And we have, a lot of speakers, 34 speakers at 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's here tonight to speak to this issue. Back in February of this year was the culmination of a couple of years that we've been talking about Bub Williamson Park and rehabbing the park. And it's gone through Parks and Rec, it's come to the City Council through the CIP and the budget process. And in February of this year, the City Council voted, to move forward with the renovations at Bub Williamson Park, which is over off of Grapevine Drive on Grapevine Lane. And those renovations would include a new soccer arena that would be lighted, ADA-compliant restrooms, playgrounds, 2 different playgrounds for different age children, 2 dog parks for big dogs, small dogs, as well as, I think there was included in there, a rehab for the gazebo and some of the turf. The soccer arena that was in the conceptual plan for that would take out the 2 existing ball fields, take down the fence that is from the ball fields to the free passive grass area that is used right now for a lot of pickup games in football and soccer. And that fence would come down and the soccer arena would take over a vast majority of the park that would be lost. But since that meeting in February, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the company that was approved to do the design build of it had to back out because the time frame was too long in anticipating the funding that we actually did not receive. And so we had to go back through an RFP process to start that again. So we had a lag in the timeline in the process of this. And during this lag in the timeline of this completion of this process, I was contacted by somebody who's in this community to tell me that they have had meetings at the park and that some people in the community are very upset at the soccer field and what they would see as negative impact on the neighborhood because of the soccer arena. And some of the comments that were made at the meeting, I was invited to attend one of the meetings. They meet weekly in the park. And so I went to one of the meetings and I heard a lot of the comments, I heard a lot of the concerns and the passion the neighbors surrounding the park have for the park and the rehab concept. But I also heard from the people that they really felt like they weren't included in the discussion process. The standard notification to 500 feet was sent out. Some houses, your neighbor is at 490 and your front door is at 510, and some people didn't get the notification. And unlike when we're doing a development project and we put those big yellow signs on a project to alert people driving by or walking by that there's something happening here, those are never posted at the park, and there wasn't one. So people who might not have gotten their letter or in the midst of homework and working and dogs and daycare and sickness or whatever, they didn't look at the letter, didn't know about it until after the vote in February. So that was compounded with the discussion that there was going to be community outreach, but there really wasn't community outreach when you only mail a letter to people who live within 500 feet. Yet there were phone calls made to representatives of the softball leagues and the soccer leagues for them to come and have meetings to talk about what they wanted. And so hearing that, if that is how the timeline worked, I really felt it was important for this neighborhood to be heard by the council again, or for the first time. Because I have to say I agree with some of the concerns about having a soccer arena field there, and I think that the neighborhood deserves to be heard. And since we have a break in the timeline because of what happened with the design build, I thought I wanted to bring it back to council. So before I go on with everything I have to say, Madam Mayor, I didn't know if Tony wanted to say anything, but I would like to go ahead and hear from our speakers.
Okay, I have Councilmember Aguilera. Did you want? that's from last time. These two are last time.
No,
Deputy Mayor.
I just wanted to suggest that because we have so many speakers, and I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to be heard before we're done with the issue, perhaps we want to provide 2 minutes to each speaker so that everybody gets a chance to speak.
It's okay with me. Anybody have a problem with that? No. What Councilmember Green did you say?
I don't mind if they take the full 3 minutes.
Oh, you don't mind for the 3 minutes?
I think that we always offer speakers 3 minutes, and I don't think it matters how many speakers we have.
I just want to make sure we get through everybody and everybody gets a chance. But I'm fine with 3 minutes as well if everybody else is.
There's a lot of speakers tonight. Okay, so we'll start with our speakers then. And so what I'm going to do is I'll call your name and I'll call the next two names. And if you'll line up over here so that we can move you through pretty fast, that would be appreciated. And please don't go over 3 minutes and try to say something different each time so you don't repeat the same thing over and over, okay? So with that, we're going to start with David Smeltzer, followed by William Simpkins, followed by Clarissa Smeltzer. And when you'll have 3 minutes and you'll see the yellow light, and then when the red light goes on, then you're done.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I can be really quick.
Everybody.
My name is David Smeltzer. I live a half-a-mile walk from Bud Williamson's neighborhood park. I'm opposed to the arena soccer stadium at this location. Building the arena converts about half of the usable green space in the park to artificial turf. It converts this area from multi-use to single-use. It puts the space behind lock walls and fences, and it forces neighbors to get reservations and pay fees for its use. I asked the City of Vista to stop any further planning, including any bids, until community design workshops have been conducted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, William Simpkins, followed by Clarissa Smeltzer, followed by Virginia Green. Oh, am I missing somebody? I am going to go to the next. So are you Clarissa?
Yes.
Okay, go Clarissa. And William, I don't know where William is, but.
Hi, as you heard, I live half a mile from Bub Williamson Park. I love the park. We go there walking our dogs. My neighbor across the street goes there almost every day. And what we like is the way it's set up. It's a tiny neighborhood park, and I'd really like to keep it that way with the trees in the back, with all of the wildlife. We've talked about a whole lot of things, and I'd really like a workshop so we can all get together and discuss what we'd like. I think a soccer field is great if it was an open soccer field, because more people seem to be playing soccer there than baseball. But a field of arena soccer is just way too much for that little tiny park. I would like a dog park. That would be great. I don't have kids, but I think a kids' playground would be wonderful. A little bit more pathways around the area would be great. We've talked about educational signs because there's a lot of wildlife back in those trees, including, I understand, some that's protected. So I'd really like to keep it the way it is, and, well, it would be nice to have a little upgrade, a better bathroom. Other than that, I would like workshops. I would really like to be involved in coming up with something that the whole community could really like and enjoy and use. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia Green, followed by Delilah Burnworth, followed by Cliff Kaiser.
Good evening. My name is Virginia Green. I've lived in this neighborhood 23 years. I've served Vista as a teacher for 23 years at Vista High School. I want to speak to the location, this area that the proposed arena is located is surrounded completely by single-family residents. Our neighboring communities and their arenas are not completely surrounded by single-family residents. There was quite a bit of communication to the MND in regard to our emotion. One of the concerns we have is in changing a park that was closed at sunset to a 10 p.m. use. We were often met with the response to the document that was environmental, that no further response was necessary. My question is, how was an assessment and an analysis of the neighborhood done? I personally spoke to quite a few people, shook many hands of neighbors in the community. One of the things that I did find out of the people that I talked to was most of them live within a half mile. There was one gentleman who came with 3 dogs from Fallbrook because he heard there was a dog park there. So you know that a dog park will be a use of this park. The people that I spoke with personally were 0 in favor of the arena. Again, these are people who live a half mile away. 32 against, and 3 undecided. More shocking to me was that 94% of these individuals who live within a half mile didn't have feeling that the city had informed them. So I just wanted to mention that. Finally, it is a repeat of what all of us are saying, and we want to reiterate we'd like to be involved in workshops. I can see a few of my former students in the room. And I support kids' activities. I've taught over 5,000 kids. I'm very engaged with the need for activity for them. This park is unsustainable for growth for an exciting sport. If the city wants to do it properly, choose a suitable location where you have the opportunity to expand to a second adjacent arena, where you can put in some kind of a, oops, my time's almost up, where you can put in a place for them to actually have a concession stand. There's none of that possible in the existing location. I deem it unsuitable. I request that you find a location that's suitable and sustainable for growth.
Thank you. Jalila Burnworth, followed by Cliff Kaiser, followed by, looks like Ruby Maldonado.
Hello. My husband and I have lived in the same house on Jonathan Street for 29 years, approximately 600 feet from the Huff Gate of Bub Williamson Park. We are opposed to having this arena soccer in our neighborhood park due to primarily the traffic and the lighting. We are asking that the RFP be put on hold until design workshops can be held with the city. This quiet, serene neighborhood would be disrupted with additional traffic for games. There are not enough parking spaces or turnaround space for 2 or 3 scheduled games back to back, and the parking will overflow onto Jonathan Street and many of the side streets. The sidewalk does not extend to the park, a situation which is a safety issue. The additional litter, the noise, the lighting, the graffiti, and the traffic will destroy our Vista neighborhood as we know it. We are opposed to the arena soccer. The park presently is a sunset park. On a personal note, my husband is an amateur astronomer and the additional lighting light pollution up to 10 o'clock at night will hinder his hobby. White light is terrible for astronomy, but if additional lighting must be used, we respectfully request low-pressure sodium or the narrow-band amber lights. Thank you.
Thank you. Cliff Kaiser, followed by Ruby Maldonado, followed by Kimberly Cross-Purdy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With only 3 minutes, I'll be brief, of course, but my verbiage may become strong. But please know I love you and I'm on your team. In November of 2015, the Council approved the consent agenda item for a CIP change for the design improvements at Bub Williamson's. The Park and Rec Commission never had that CIP presented to them beforehand. In that CIP agenda item, it said community workshops would be held to solicit input from park users and residents. That community workshop never happened. In 2016, a few months later, the CIP improvements were presented to the Parks and Recs Commission, of which I was a member at the time. Questions were raised about the lack of community workshops. A series of emails that I initiated was exchanged with City and about the lack of the workshop. In August of 2016, the Parks and Rec Commission voted, the Parks and Recs Commission voted to have city staff revisit the plan and consider redesigning the field for dual use, both soccer and softball, and to hold community workshops. In 2016, staff came back to the Parks and Rec Commission and decided that they were going to continue on with the plans already in place. No consideration was made for dual use or to hold a public workshop. In February of this year, as I've already been mentioned, the mitigated negative declaration was presented. Councilman Franklin was the only one that expressed concern about local community input that I recall. The above process that I just summarized very quickly and the results illustrate a systemic problem with city planning and the seeking of community input. So I'm criticizing you here. The 500 legal notice typically used by the city is wholly inadequate for most projects that truly need community input. Please don't hide behind the simple 500-foot geographic postal notice. Posting on social media and the city website is helpful, but still insufficient. Breeze Hill Apartments, the Paseo Archway sign, the South Santa Fe Apartments are fairly recent examples where local activists rallied the community and fortunately were able to react late in the game. The point being that you must do a better job in reaching out to the community ahead of time and not waiting until you tick them off. Recall, the city was about to go to RFP or to begin construction. One common answer when community input concerns are expressed is, oh, please, come to my castle and I'll give you 3 minutes or less to address the royal court. Why is it like that? Why aren't you reaching out to the community ahead of time? Why do they have to come here and they have to bring all their friends? It's fortunate that they are here, and that's good. So the word got out, but it's not because of the process that's in place. It's because it's in spite of the bureaucratic juggernaut that's moving forward.
Your time is up, Cliff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ruby Maldonado, followed by Kimberly Cross-Purdy, followed by Ken Lowe.
Hello, my name is Ruby Maldonado, and I am here to support the park. I come from Tiffany Soccer League. I've been working for them for a couple years now, and just in general, I want to support the park, the soccer arena, and the park in general, because I think it has a little bit of everything for everybody. And I'm just here to show support and just to let you know that we do have a couple coaches that have been with us for years, and we do have parents and players here supporting us. And I mean, we have little kids that I know that definitely they will enjoy the playground, but they also play soccer, which they love. Just here to show support, and hopefully it is made. And somebody else suggested that if a different place, if it can be done, it can be built, then if that's, I mean, well, it's good. I'm here to show support, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Kimberly Cross-Purdy, and followed by Ken Lowe, and followed by Scott Kinghorn.
Hi, thank you. Excuse me. My name is Kimberly Cross-Purdy. I have lived in Vista my entire life. When I had the opportunity to buy my first home before my son was born, we chose Vista because it was my hometown and it was important to me. We were fortunate enough to find the home on Grapevine Lane with a wonderful small park tucked at the end of the street. The entire time my son has grown up, 21 years in fact, we've cultivated relationships with our neighbors, and those neighbors are now our family. They're not just our friends. When my neighbors, Brad and Deb McGee, came to me and told me that they had spoken on our behalf at multiple council meetings and they had gone to the Parks and Rec meeting, they came to me with their shoulders slumped and they said, "I'm sorry, Kim, we were defeated. They didn't hear us." They're not listening to the importance of our neighborhood or what we've done and what we've been on the street for over 20 years. They've been here since 1989, since the inception of the park. And we followed behind them in 1996, and our friends that are not here today, our neighbors, Don and Dave Rowe, have been here since 2 years after we came. It is really important, it was really important to me to say no. I wasn't going to stand still and not let our voices be heard. I was the one that contacted Amanda Rigby, and I asked her, I said, "Please, will you listen?" I also spoke to Bob Campbell, and I said, "Bob, I realize you don't know this project, but will you tell me how I can get through to the council members and the mayor and the deputy mayor so we can talk about this?" I wanted to start a conversation, which is what we felt we haven't had. I'm asking you to stop the RFP process. I'm asking you to provide these community design workshops like you did mention in the 2015 agenda in November. and actually allow my neighbors and myself to come together and communicate and talk to you about what we vision for this park. This is one of the last small places in Vista to come to that's quiet and serene. And I think that if we all come together and talk about it, we can actually come up with a really good solution. I also want to speak to the fact that two of our older members of our grouping, they had to leave tonight. They came all the way, and they stood in front, and they saw the large support of everyone here, and she couldn't do it. And so I'd like to take the remainder of my time to read to you what they are planning to say to you today. They've been in Vista in our neighborhood for over 40 years. And that was one of the things I noticed at our committee meetings, at our neighborhood meetings, was that most of us in the neighborhood have been here for over 20 years. So I see that my time's coming to an end, so I just want to paraphrase some of the things that her and her husband said. She said, arena soccer is in the neighborhood, the bright lights, more crime, taking up parking spaces, disturbing our peace by screaming and yelling and incitement. She said they're senior citizens and their health is in poor. They have other things at risk, and what she stated, and she said it multiple times, what this would be considered elder abuse. So I see my time is up. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Lowe, followed by Scott Kinghorn, followed by Mark, Lowman?
Your Honor, distinguished members of the council, my name is Ken Lowe. I live behind the bird preserve on Collins Street. I will be reading from the General Plan Vista 2030, Chapter 1, Verse 1. I guess it's like the Bible. Vista Vision Statement was prepared following a series of public workshops in which residents were invited to participate and express their views for the future of their community. Policy: encourage community participation in planning and development of land use policies and program through outreach efforts, workshops, and community meetings. Policy: foster coordinated planning and cooperation with non-government organizations, particularly those involved in resource protection. Goal: foster coordinated planning and cooperation with SANDAG, biological resources. Policy: continue and require the development that is proposed in areas identified or expected to contain sensitive vegetation and wildlife communities. Consult with wildlife agencies like Fish and Game. When Haley Johnson of Harris prepared this, I do not think that she spoke with these three entities. The Vista 2030, Fish and Game had input, Reserve Calavera had input, and SANDAG had input. I don't think input was here. I didn't think it was asked for. Policy: preserve the integrity of riparian habitat areas. Policy: preserve and protect and enhance the city's forests. Implement the provisions of the multiple habitat conservation plan. This is the map from the 2030 of the regional conservation plan. If you zoom up into the protected area, Bub Park is just right above it. It shows the riparian reserve running all the way through the park. I don't think anybody looked at that. The riparian reserve runs from Ruby all the way down to Jonathan. The map shows the area of construction, and half of it is lopped off for the riparian reserve, and some of it has been touched in the improvement. Here's a map that was in the RFP package. It shows this anvil-shaped piece of land at the top. That is part of the park. Here on a new zoning map, it's R1. It was open area before. How did that happen? Okay, I'm going to rush through this, but basically...
Actually, your time is up.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just want you to meet your new neighbor, the protected species, the American peregrine falcon that lives back there.
Thank you, sir. Scott Kinghorn, followed by Mark Loyman, followed by Lisa Diavre.
Hello, my name is Scott Kinghorn. I live on Huff Street about 100 feet from the perimeter of Bub Williamson Park, and I do not want arena soccer in our small neighborhood park. There are larger and more suitable areas for this project. I request that the current RFPs that include arena soccer be stopped and design workshops be included before any new RFPs are generated. The public needs to be heard. Reality, a safe park attracts more people. Parks are notorious crime hotspots, and we do not want crime. Opening a park till 10 p.m. with lights will only increase the activity of drug trafficking, alcohol consumption, loitering, and vandalism, which will spill over to surrounding neighbors and affect the use of the park. Park crime and graffiti are constant problems that we, the neighbors, report and deal with many times with minimal law enforcement support. Crime affects property values and the ability to sell our homes. It destroys and degrades our neighbors. Crime threatens the safety of our family and our homes. The Sheriff Department is understaffed and overworked. Do they need more calls coming from the public about crime? An active occupied sheriff substation would greatly help with crime control in the park, and our neighborhood's response time would be quicker. We feel that law enforcement needs to be involved in the design construction phase of the proposed park project, considering project lighting and security. 8-foot arena walls offer minimal lines of sight and provide a convenient area for transient and lawbreakers to hide behind. And there will be constant graffiti issues. The Huff Street Gate was closed in the past through a city council meeting due to high crime, loitering, and vandalism. This access should remain closed to vehicular and pedestrian traffic for these reasons. Only opening the gate will invite people to park in front of our homes, taking up needed parking space, and bring noise, vandalism, and crime to our neighborhood. The exact reasons it was closed many years ago. We have over 200 petitions opposed to the project signatures, many from nearby residents. I went door to door collecting 26. Only one, they were all opposed. Only one wouldn't sign the petition. That's constituents. People concerns were what the arena soccer would bring. That's crime, traffic, and noise, and late hours. We love our neighborhood park and cul-de-sac. We moved here for that reason. If we saw a 200 by 80 foot arena sitting in that park, we would have probably made a choice elsewhere. At least we would have had a choice. We are in favor of the dog park, the family area, and park upgrades. This is Our Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Lyman, followed by Lisa Diavri, followed by Christine Lowe.
My name is Mark Leugman. My wife Jana and I have lived at 566 Collins Street for about 2 years now. Our nation is founded upon the principle of quiet enjoyment of our communities and neighborhoods. It is this premise that is threatened by the ill-advised commercial development of our quaint Bub Williamson Park with the proposed arena soccer and all that will accompany this structure. Let me be perfectly clear. We absolutely reject the notion of an arena soccer development at this park and further reject any request for proposal that would include any such premise. We are completely in support of a community and neighborhood comprehensive workshop to discuss creative solutions for appropriate development that is cohesive and complementary to our homes. The current design proposal, which includes allowable noise at all levels as well as lighting until 10 p.m. each and every night, appears to ignore the nature of our individual needs and lives. This noise and light will realistically continue past 10 p.m. each night, as park users will stay after the activities to socialize, pack up, and make their ways to vehicles which will be parked on all surrounding streets. This has no regard for a working community and neighborhood members who must retire prior to 10 p.m. to begin our days at 5 a.m. in order to continue to be well-rested, tax-paying contributors to this society and this community. Enhanced use of the park by arena soccer teams and fans will include street parking in all areas surrounding the park, as the available park spaces will not contain the number of vehicles from outside the area. What is now a simple walking amenity for our neighborhood will become a destination for transient and out-of-area users, those that are uninterested in our quaint and peaceful lifestyle. Is the commercial benefit of one arena soccer field in our neighborhood worth the disruption and destruction of the community character and public safety of our environment? While we can see the benefit of accessible upgrades to this park, the addition of pay-to-play arena soccer for the use of transient players does not benefit our neighborhood or our community. Keep this small neighborhood park free and open to multi-purpose use by the residents and neighborhood members in this immediate area. We insist on an open workshop to discuss and design an appropriate enhancement plan that collaborates with our community. We made a choice to invest in this community, raise our children, and live productive lives. Please make a choice to invest with us and not force a decision upon our futures that we do not want or need. Thank you.
Lisa Giovri, followed by Christine Lowe, followed by Bradley McGee.
Hi, my name is Lisa Dovray, and I live on Huff Street, about 100 feet from the perimeter of Bubba Williamson Park. I am against the proposal of arena soccer at this park, which is way too small for the scope of this project. Please keep this quiet, park-free, and an open green area for multi-purpose use by residents, their families, and adjacent neighborhoods. I am requesting that any RFP be stopped and rewritten to eliminate arena soccer in the plans and have at least 3 neighborhood comprehensive and conceptual design workshops. These workshops will give us opportunities to discuss creative solutions for an alternative design and a more appropriate development that is complementary for this small, quaint park because it impacts us the most. We were not notified or given the opportunity to attend any such workshops. I am in favor, however, of the dog park, the children's play area, and much-needed upgrades. We would like the park to be safe and a peaceful haven within our neighborhood to enjoy by families now and for future generations. Please give us our design workshops. I also do want to add about the Huff Street gate that it remain closed to vehicular as well as pedestrian traffic to uphold the ruling that was implemented in the past regarding this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Lowe, followed by Bradley McGee, followed by Deborah McGee.
Good evening. I am here tonight to speak for the members of the Bubba Williamson Park community that cannot speak for themselves. My husband and I are new residents of the park neighborhood. Our property backs up to the exotic riparian woodland habitat preserve that is part of the western edge of Bubba Williams Park. I have personally observed a number of migratory birds on the proposed MHCP covered species list, also included in the multiple habitat conservation program administered by SANDAG for the cities of Carlsbad, Encinitas, and Escondido, Oceanside, Solano Beach, and Vista. According to this summary, the San Diego region is a hotspot for biodiversity and species endangerment, having more rare, threatened, and endangered species than any comparable land area in the continental United States. Included in this list of species fully protected by the state of California is the peregrine falcon. Although this habitat does not appear to be designated as a nesting area for the peregrine falcon, they do mate here. I am a witness. The MHCP sub-area plans will only allow habitat alteration or disturbance that will not affect breeding individuals. It is my contention that the proposed mitigation measures set forth by the mitigated negative declaration are insufficient and only intended to protect wildlife during the course of construction, ignoring the long-range effects of extended nighttime lighting and invasive noise that will alter this balance in ways that are yet to be measured. The guidelines proposed for land use within the adjacent area preserve and included in the MHCP plan are incompatible with the high-impact activity contained in this proposed project. The sub-area plan only supports passive recreational uses, for example, hiking, bird watching, and public education is appropriate to support existing wildlife in this habitat. The park is presently used as a quiet neighborhood space. Family picnics, car club meetings, dog exercise, and quiet Sunday pickup soccer games all take place there. These activities are presently conducted during daylight hours and minimize the long-range effects on wildlife that arena soccer lighting would have. It is my hope that the vision set forth in the Vista General Plan 2030 is supported in any design review going forward. The Biological Resources Goal 5 intentions to preserve and protect, to the extent practicable, the range of natural biological communities and species native to the city and region, and conserve viable populations of the endangered, threatened, key sensitive species and their habitats. Thank you.
Thank you. Bradley McGee, followed by Deborah McGee, followed by Zach Purdy.
Good evening. Good to see you again. I was
here in February at the council meeting, and I spoke against the soccer arena being built at Williamson Park. And before that, I was at the Parks and Rec, one of those meetings, and I also spoke in opposition to the arena soccer field. And my wife and I, we've been Vista residents for 30 years, and 28 of those have been on Grapevine Lane. That's the road to the park. And we've been very happy living there. For the past 20 years, I've worked up in Orange County, and my coworkers say, why don't you move up here? There's some real nice towns. And I've always answered, well, I like where I live. I like Vista, and that's why I deal with the long commute, because I like the area I live in. I like my neighborhood. I like the neighbors. And so that's why we've been there for 28 years running now. Now, if you're talking about Williamson Park, if you were to, if there was like a turnstile that counted, or an ID thing to count number of visits to the park, I'm guessing I would be number one, because I walk to the park probably an average of 5 days a week. My trips don't stay that long. Sometimes I'm just walking my dogs around a couple laps. Sometimes I'm going down into the ravine area and walking through the woods. But you know, I have a good idea of what just by using the park that much, of what would work and what wouldn't work there. And I'm hoping that you know, we have these workshops. I could talk, instead of 3 minutes, I'd be glad to talk half an hour of ideas. And even though I've spoke against the arena soccer field at the park, I'm not against arena soccer. I like pretty much all sports, youth sports, adult sports. I just don't think this is the right park for it, not one with a forest in the back. I think we should leverage that forest to put something more appropriate. And at the same time, Vista, I know it's growing. There's like 2,200 apartments and housing units being built. You know, we need more recreation, so we need more parks that would have something like this, but we also need to preserve the open space that we have. And taking a bulldozer and wiping out open green area now and putting in a fixed structure by woodlands just so that it makes sense. You know, in my own informal surveys of when I'm down at the park and other people come down there and use, over this past 9 months, a year even, I've talked to people that come down there and I describe the project to them. I say, well, there's going to be a dog park up here, and they go, okay, that makes sense. There's going to be some playground equipment here, maybe a picnic area here, and they're going, okay. And then I say there's going to be an adult-sized arena soccer field from this end of the parking lot up through the outfield of the ball field. And they just shake their head and go, what? That doesn't make sense.
I need you to wrap up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah McGee, followed by Zach Purdy, followed by Dale, it looks like Winterquist.
Honorable Mayor and members of council, this is the third time I've stood in this chamber to voice my opinion about not having an arena soccer area built in Williamson Park. My husband, Brad, who just spoke, we bought our house in 1989 and we're very happy to be homeowners in Vista. Having a quaint neighborhood park at the end of the street, that was an added bonus for us. It offered us green space and trees and bushes and nature that we didn't have in our yard. We couldn't afford landscaping at the time. When my mom was alive, Mom and I would go to the park in the open area and fly a kite. We had a ball. Brad and I and neighbors in the area have had children's birthday parties there. We've had cookouts. Brad and I, at one point in time, you could rent the park, and we did that. We did that for an activity that we had planned. We paid $25 and rented Williamson Park. It was a huge hit. We've taken our 4 puppies down there where they gained the confidence to walk on leashes because it's quiet, and it was great for them. Now, a little while after Brad and I moved into our house, we noticed that there was questionable activities after hours at Williamson Park. So I called upon Mayor Gloria McClellan. I met with her twice, face to face. We talked about the park and what could be done to better it. So the city put a wire. They installed wire to close off the entrance to Williamson Park that had to be locked every day and every evening, sunrise, sunset. And Mayor McClellan, she nominated me as the gatekeeper. She trusted me to take care of that park and keep it open and closed. Fast forward, the city installed a better way of closing off the park, so I had to turn my key in my duties of taking care of the park. I wish I could have kept it, the key as a memento. So just as Mayor McClellan placed her trust and faith in me for the betterment of Williamson Park, I'm now placing my trust and faith in you for the betterment of the park by not allowing arena soccer to be built in that park. Keep it small, keep it open so that other parents and daughters and kids can fly a kite, walk their dogs, and enjoy the nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach Purdy, followed by Dale Winterquist, followed by Matt Hall.
Hello. My name is Zach Purdy, and I'm proud to say that I represent my hometown as the current Mr. Vista. I'm speaking on behalf of the 202 who signed the petition against the arena soccer field. I've lived on Grapevine Lane since the day I was born. All of my childhood memories, learning to play t-ball, learning to ride a bike, having Nerf wars with my friends, and holding a girl's hand for the first time, all at Bob Williamson Park. I loved growing up in my neighborhood. My neighbor and I grew up together, and he's more of a brother to me than a friend. He and I would always go down to the park playing with Hot Wheels, riding our bikes, and he even taught me how to ride a skateboard. I plan on raising my children here in our Vista, in the home I grew up in. So I oppose the building of an arena soccer field at Bob Williamson Park. When there's an adult arena soccer game till 10 p.m., it's going to disrupt my life. My bedroom window faces the direction of the park. I'll lose sleep from the noise of the arena soccer game to the noise of the people walking to and from their cars. I'll lose my parking space in front of my house. People will speed up and down the street. For example, it was during softball season, and a car was speeding down the street to one of the softball games, and my neighbor, Tyler, was hit by that car. And so I'm not against arena soccer in Vista, but I am against an arena soccer field at Bob Williamson Park. I'd like to finish by reading a quote from one of the supporters of our online petition. As our city continues to move forward towards more concrete, taller buildings and more beer restaurants than any small town should have, can't we please keep one element of charm and serenity that was once our Vista? The impact that this will have on this beautiful, quaint neighborhood will just be one more tragedy that Vista residents must endure. Please preserve this beautiful park and the history of Vista. Thank you to the anonymous supporter for seeing the beauty in this park and in our Vista, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Dale Winterquist, followed by Matt Hall, followed by Tracy Kakuchi.
Good evening. My name is Dale Winterquist. My wife, Ellie, and myself have lived in Vista for 31 years. We moved in 86. We picked this area Vista because of the quaintness and the beautiful reserve that is along the area. Our property, backyard is right up to the reserve, directly to the west of the proposed new arena soccer field. And during the course of these years, we've watched numerous migratory birds every year come, have their offspring, leave, and come back, and we've seen the same ones year after year. This has been a beautiful environment for the nature. And when the park was built, it did enhance the overall neighborhood because there was an area then to go over and walk and sit and throw out a blanket, have a nice picnic with your family, throw a frisbee, watch a lot of t-ball. A lot of children grow. Through the course of the 30 years, I've seen generations of children grow up there and watch them. And I'm strictly opposed to having an arena soccer field there. If you can imagine, an arena field of this size has over 4,400 square feet of surface area. Now, this arena, the way it's situated, would be to the east and go from the north to the south and the east and the west. That's 4,400 square feet of area, which would be prime graffitied area. And on the back side of that, which is close to half of it, is unseen. If any patrol car were to come in, the only access into this particular park is through Grapevine. When they drive in, they have no visual look at the far side of this particular arena. So that back side of that arena, which is 200 feet long, is an area which is adjacent to the preserve, and it's very easy for a criminal activity to conduct any type of business they want back there without being seen. And these late hours, the park as being right now being closed at dusk is very nice. It's quiet, secluded, and I know there are problems there, but by opening it up and having lights there until 10 o'clock in the evening is just unacceptable. And again, we've enjoyed the quaintness of this neighborhood, and by putting these improvements in the way they are designed right now is not right. We're asking that you please either halt the request for proposal or extend it so we can have these neighborhood workshops where we can all get together, and they would be great if these workshops could be conducted actually at the park to where you could see the tranquility of this particular park and the feelings that you get when you get into this quiet neighborhood. The Tri-City area has been so condensed and being so populated that all these little areas now are being lost. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Matt Hall, followed by Tracy Kakuchi, followed by Galen Kakuchi, if I'm saying that right. Hi.
Hello. My name is Matt Hall. I'm the director of coaching for Vista Storm Soccer Club. Thanks for having us. First, thanks for the families that came out tonight to support the arena. We really appreciate it. I would like to first say, I'm unfamiliar with the logistics of the park. So I do hope that if the arena goes forward, that it's done with the utmost respect to the neighborhood. I also, don't exactly know the bureaucratical process that has got us to this point. But what I would like to talk about is the positive impact a park like this could have, because I felt like a lot of tonight has been talking about the negative impact a park could have. And there's no doubt that there's parks out there that have graffiti and crime and that have concerns, but not all of them. If you guys came and hung out with me at the Vista Sports Park, there every night, it's a beautiful place where young people play soccer, play softball, play baseball, and it's a great asset for our community. And to me, that would be my focus of the night, is not necessarily on the negative side, but the positive things that this park could do for our community. To me, better people make a better community. And I played soccer growing up. I was very fortunate that my talents and ability got me to a scholarship in college. Over half of my college education was paid for through soccer. And I have a college degree because of my process. I actually played rec soccer right here when this was Eucalyptus Park. So, playing the game in Vista made me what I am today. So I would like to talk about the opportunity that this park would provide to the young people in the room today, because there's some very, very fine young people here that would be able to further their trade as a soccer player. But not just that, they would become a better person through the game of soccer. And that's what, to me, competitive sports and sports in general is all about, is creating a platform where young people can make good decisions. And for me, anytime as a community we can reach out and do something that will have a positive impact on young people in the community, to me that makes the city of Vista better. And that's what my focus would be, is giving all the young people in our community an opportunity to make good decisions, to go out and learn the ideals of sportsmanship and teamwork and camaraderie and industry. And I think that this arena will further our ability to do so. There's no doubt that.
That means your time's up.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Tracy.
That'll be hard to follow, right? The applause. I'm new to Vista. I just bought a home with my husband here. It's about 1.5 miles away from the park. I've been living in Southern California for 4 years now. When I moved here, it was a culture shock. I grew up with a backyard on a farm. I came from another farm. I came here, and it was horrible. It was just no grass anywhere, all dirt. And so we lived in an apartment and moving around. I had the lovely experience of going to the Bub Williamson Park the other day to meet one of the residents over there. And it was like a big backyard, and it was such a nice feeling to find somewhere that's local. There's lots of, little housing developments that have their own little park that if you live there and you pay $800,000 for the house, then you're allowed to use their grass. But there aren't little parks like this, and nobody wants to pay to go into a park. You're going to take away something that is really unique. Growing up the way I did, even now as an adult, I find grass and I'm like, oh, it's just lovely. And when I went into this park, it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that most of them have now, but it has grass, and it had a big group of people playing soccer, and there were groups all over, and they were just really using the area, and it was beautiful. And when I first moved to California, I used to walk 6 miles with my dogs, so I could walk and go to the dog park that was really far away, and then go home and feel like I was still in nature. I would have walked from Carlsbad to this park if I would have seen it, because it's just beautiful, and it would be a shame. I love sports. I love soccer. I think soccer teaches teamwork and creates children. I'm a teacher. Creates children who have a lot of wonderful things to put into the society, because they learn team building. They learn to cooperate. They learn to work with each other. But this little park doesn't need to be knocked down to build some new big giant building that kids are going to... You're going to put a lock on it. From what I hear, they can't even maintain the bathrooms right now because of the cost. So now you're going to put in a big building, lock it up. Nobody's going to be able to go and enjoy the park. So as a taxpayer, as somebody who's come here, you really need the community input, and you really need to understand what this park has to offer outside of soccer. So thanks.
Thank you. Galen? Okay, you guys, it's getting late, so let's not clap, okay? Galen, followed by John, it looks like Drelek, followed by Karina Contreras.
Hey, good evening. I'm here to oppose the building of the soccer arena. I feel like you guys should solicit input from the community and keep it a free, multi-purpose area where everybody can enjoy, from all different ages, and be able to just enjoy the area for what it actually is. Not just soccer players, not just kids, or not just adults. Just a multi-recreational area. And so I just request that you guys solicit some input from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. John Drelek. And you're followed by Karina Contreras, and followed by Nancy Curley.
Hi, thank you. Just like to say that arena soccer, yes, in Vista would be a wonderful thing. However, when you look over at the little Bub Williamson Park, the thing that keeps coming to mind for me is the square peg in a round hole. It's kind of not the place for that. because it's just so small and nice little thing. We live a half mile from there. My son is down there just about every day. He wants to make sure that I ask you for swings, but I'd rather see the funds, if they're to be used for arena soccer, which is great, not there. That's all. And maybe if we just keep it as it is, as a nice neighborhood thing that we go to all the time, Dada, let's go kick the ball, and to something where we actually can get into. Because I know that as soon as I see those walls and that thing, we're both going to want to go in there. It's like, well, I don't have, let's not spend $500 for an hour for you and I to kick around there. The other thing that I would add is just that on the weekends, it is so quiet in our area, and that's such a rarity. And for me, coming from a much more rural area, it's amazing to me that we can be so tightly packed that it's so nice and quiet all the time. So with the only traffic, the worst traffic we have is when Grapevine Elementary is in, and that's a good thing. It's during the day. So, again, just reiterate that really when you look at it, it's a square peg in a round hole type of thing. And arena soccer is a fantastic thing, but just not at our little jewel there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Karina Contreras, followed by Nancy Curley, followed by Tom Fleming. And could you guys continue lining up over on the side, the ones that are waiting?
Hello, my name is Karina Contreras. I've been before the council several times. And listen, I visited Bub Williamson Park for the first time. It's really tucked away into a neighborhood. I'm going to not be PC here. I'm going to say I freaking love soccer. I grew up playing it. I played it every day since I was 9. I played rec. I played, Storm. It's really great to see a bunch of kids here. I hope this is not the last time that they come to a council meeting. Please keep coming. I played for Vista High School. My brother played soccer. All the things said about this game is true. It really does build a sense of future self, a sense of community and teamwork, which, these skills are really necessary in today's world. But the problem here is that a full-blown soccer arena just doesn't fit. It really does not fit here. It would be like trying to put this in Raintree Park. It's not feasible. I'm not even sure how much discussion we need to have on this item because we don't have the funding for it. So that's also another concern. The fact that it hasn't been revitalized since its inception in 1989 is concerning, knowing that, this is going to be a turf field that gets torn up. Turf is expensive to replace. I don't know if the council can address if we have funds to actually fix the park. If there are issues 5 years from now where the turf needs to be replaced. I know at Vista High School, the turf went like that. So that's one of my concerns. Now, another thing is that this really is a jewel of a park. It has an amazing riparian area where these falcons that are actually kind of interesting to watch if you can get a glimpse of them. We can have this be a world-class native, natural education center for kids. I mean, we really have to work with the area and what it allows us to build and not superimpose something on this site that just does not fit. And another thing that I've said several times in front of the council is that with projects like this, obviously the community wants to be involved. So my question to the council and to the city is, when are we going to promote more civic engagement opportunities between the city and its residents? Because they're begging for it, whether it's a by-district election or, an arena like this. So thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Curley, followed by Tom. I don't see Nancy. Oh, she left? Okay. Then we'll go with Tom Fleming. Okay, Tom Fleming, followed by Nancy Brenner, followed by Mary Beck Higgins.
It's past my bedtime, too. Just 2 or 3 things, a couple of things I wanted to mention. One is that the parking there is completely inadequate if you're going to have a soccer arena there, you're going to have teams, you're going to have parents watching, and there's going to be a lot of parking needed. It's not there. It's going to be parked in front of the people's homes that are there on Grapevine Lane. I live on Grapevine Road, and I've lived there for 40 years now, just north of the school, next to one of the neighbors. My neighbor was just here, and he said it's like a round peg in a square hole, and it's very much that situation. That's not the place for this soccer field. If you want to put a soccer stadium, you've already got turf laid out at a sports park that you spent millions of dollars to build. If it's such a big deal and you really need a sports arena, put it in a corner there. You've got the turf already laid out. You're not going to have to do it. So just put the wall around it. I am very much opposed to the fact that once it goes into a neighborhood park, if you want to use it, you got to pay $500 an hour, and that's when they'll come and unlock it for you, and you can use your park if somebody comes and unlocks it and you give them $500. That doesn't make sense to me for a neighborhood park. And the last thing is, if you can save some money here, this is a good place to go to Solutions for Change, if you save the money. Thank you.
Okay. Is Nancy Brenner here? Did she go home? Here she comes. Okay. Followed by Mary Beck Higgins, followed by Judy Davis.
It's late, so I'll make this very, very short. We live my husband and I live just west of the park, across from the riparian area that you've been hearing about. There are trees, and then there's our home. And at present, we love the park. We know it simply in an auditory sense. We hear the people walking on the sidewalk. We hear the kids and their skateboards coming by. And we hear the pickup soccer games. All of it is a very pleasant thing, and we would hate to see that replaced by something that would have more volume and particularly lights. So I want to say that I'm opposed, and for the reasons that my neighbors have already spoken about, and I'll just leave it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Beth Higgins, followed by Judy Davis, followed by Darcy, I think it's Icky?
Hi, I'm Judy Davis. Me and my husband have lived on Eldred Lane for over 35 years. We have no curb, no gutter, no noise. I worry about a fire that would be right in the ravine between the park, the ravine. If something like that happens, our places would probably go up in a fire. And also, in your newsletters, you show that there are several different parks, soccer parks, and those soccer parks are closed between 4 to dusk. I'm kind of wondering why that park where they want to have the soccer field would be open till 10. That was in your Vista newsletter. If you look on there, it talks about the different times that certain parks close. Yeah, you should look because it is in there. Anyway, the 10 o'clock is way too late. You have Grapevine School, which is right up the street. If you're concerned about the kids being here right now and being up late, what do you think a park open until 10 o'clock is going to do for their lack of sleep, as well as our lack of sleep in their area? Again, why don't we try to work perhaps with Grapevine School and do a community food bank there? Let's grow vegetables. Let's do something different for our community versus a soccer field. I mean, I don't mind kids playing soccer during the day, but when you have adults at night, that's a whole new element that's going to come into play in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you Darcy or Nancy? Are you Darcy? Okay. Is Nancy Beck Higgins, is she gone? Is she not here?
Hello. Good evening. I think everyone said what I wanted to say already. I do support the soccer for the kids in Vista. I played soccer growing up. lifelong resident of Vista, but now I live on the Emerald Overpass, next to the Emerald Overpass, where I think you probably all know the traffic is insane. You've kind of widened some lanes recently. And I think if they're going to have 6 games a day with 30, 40 cars a game going over that bridge, trying to get off the freeway. Sometimes it takes me 10 minutes just to get across or drop my daughter off at Tri-City Christian School in the morning, and I just don't want more traffic and growth in our nice little neighborhood. So thank you. I oppose it.
Thank you. Veronica, I think is it Grimes or Grimes? Followed by Rosa Castillo, followed by Catalina Garcia.
Hello. I live at 440 Grapevine Road, which is the road that is in front. It's the main thoroughway from the freeway, main thoroughway from Olive. We have a lot of traffic on that street. People speed down that street already. I can't imagine what it will be like when we have a soccer arena in the area, bringing in all of this extra traffic. Our neighborhood got together and did a lot of research on this. We've looked at environmental issues, traffic issues. We didn't see the answers in the plans that you guys have laid out. So what we're requesting is to stop the RFP and hold some community workshops so that we can have our questions answered. And then the other point I have is that arena does not fit in that park. There are better options for it in Vista. I don't know if all of you have been to that park, but it's a small park, and this is a huge arena. I actually went to Sunset Park in San Marcos and looked at the arena they have there, and it has a big white wall that surrounds it, and then I think it's chain link on the top of that. The white wall, to me, what I see is a canvas for graffiti. We've had graffiti issues in that park in the past. I was on the board of Vista Bobby Sox for a few years, and I can't tell you how many times I had to call the graffiti hotline to have graffiti removed from that area. So that was the first thing that stood out in my mind when I heard of this arena soccer field. I just want to say that I'm not opposed to arena soccer in Vista. I am opposed to arena soccer at Bub Williamson Park. I would like the parking area examined. I don't think there's adequate parking there. I don't think the area is adequately patrolled. And the traffic situation on the streets leading into the park should be looked at as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosa Castillo? No? How about Catalina Garcia?
Hello. I oppose to arena.
Talk right in the microphone right here so we can hear you up here.
I oppose to arena soccer for many of the reasons that I already mentioned. For one, it's a very, very small neighborhood park. And in addition to that, it will bring crime, it will bring traffic chaos. And we also oppose to the opening gate at the Huff Street. I live over Huff Street, so I know what that means exactly. And like I said, I'm not opposed to arena soccer games. I love sports. I like soccer, but in this neighborhood, the park is very, very small for that purpose. In addition to that, we would also lose the natural habitat of the protected area. So I will oppose to arena soccer at this neighborhood park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Alicia Del Forno, followed by Carmen Negrete, followed by Matthew Menke. Anybody? Alicia? Are you Alicia? You're Carmen. Is Alicia here? I don't see. Okay. It's your turn. Okay.
Hi, I'm Carmen Negrete. Like everybody said already, I oppose the arena soccer field. The reason why is because it's too small. I love going to a park every day, 2 to 3 times a day. And it's so peaceful, so awesome to be there, and taking it away will be so horrible for all of us who live next to it. That's all.
Thank you. Oh, you were very brief. Thank you. Matthew, are you Matthew? Yes. Matthew Menke, followed by David Gonzalez, and followed by Mark Miller.
Somebody leave this up here?
No, don't use that.
Okay. I'm not sure what study is showing organized sports as creating more crime, but it seems like there's a ton of Mr. Wilsons here that if they'd just come out to the Storm Park, the Vista Sports Park, they'd see there is no graffiti and there's lots of opportunities for it up there. It is surrounded by houses, and I know a number of people that back up to it and love it and bought there because of it. I came to Vista primarily because of a youth program that Vista provided for my disabled son, but I have several other children. Every one of them is required to play in sports. Vista has brought home so many trophies, awards, and championships to all of us as a community. And in order to create an environment for children, we've got to have more. My son's across the street practicing right now in Lincoln Middle School field, and we are the stepchild of the entire San Diego area as far as sports for kids. So just the fact that you guys are looking at a place for the kids, I'm grateful for. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. We are in desperate need of more spots for sure. And I don't know who would not want the sound of laughing children as opposed to, I mean, empty parks bring crime, not parks that are used by clubs constantly right up to the minute. Anybody that needs a ride to come to the sports park, I'm more than happy to leave my number for and show them what kind of activity these kids do. They'll be leaders in our community someday, so if we don't try to promote that, we'll end up with more solutions. Everywhere we'll need lots of it. And I admire what he's done, but we're going to need a lot more of it if we don't focus on the children and the youth at risk. And we got a lot of it here in Vista. And surprisingly, those kids want something better for their lives. My daughter's been involved with so many, all of the kids in the community that are involved with sports bring home championships and get scholarships. So we need to do our part and give them more places to play and areas that the clubs can be involved with. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. David Gonzalez. Pull the microphone right down where you can talk into it. Yeah, there you go.
I am in support of the indoor soccer field because when we are off season, we need to go to other cities to play indoor soccer. Therefore, if we have one in Vista, my parents don't have to take me other cities. Plus, I can continue to play with my teammates and my coach and raise money for our City of Vista Soccer Club.
Thank you. Mark Miller, followed by Frank Mentado, followed by Ryan Ash.
Hello. This is my first time out here to a city council meeting. I've lived here since 2003. So far, I like it. Good job. You run a tight ship. I just want to add my voice of opposition to everybody else here, and I want to sum up. We've had a lot of speakers here. I think I'm one of the last. Maybe there's one or two more after me. I just want to sum it up real quick. We've had two voices of support for the soccer arena. And I think the rest of us are opposed to having a soccer arena at this park. The soccer coach who was up here, he spoke very well, sir, very eloquent. You mentioned respect. I respect soccer. I respect your passion for soccer.
You have to talk to us up here, please.
Nobody here has said they don't like soccer. I think the residents that surround this park need to be respected in their opposition. We just don't want a soccer arena at this park. I thank you all for listening to what we have to say. I hope you, in addition to listening, I hope you hear our one voice of opposition. Thank you.
Okay, Frank Mentado. He'll be followed by Ryan Ash, be followed by Lupe Fañez.
How's it going, guys? Good evening, neighbors, because we're all neighbors. So the topic here is a field, and I think I'm a Latino, and as a Latino leader, I do FCA at Vista High School. I work with a Presbyterian church, And as a Latino leader, and I go to the sports park all the time, and we need more fields to play soccer. And one is not enough. And if you talk to your fellow council members from other towns, Carlsbad, Oceanside, San Marcos, they're developing new fields. And why? Because they think that it's worth the investment, the time, the money for youth players to develop, because they're, as you know, they're the future. And through sports, and especially through soccer, they can become better teammates, better community leaders. And the thing is not that they're going to go by themselves. They're going to go with their parents, and that's going to build a bonding moment. And I understand that there's things that we have to take account, but if we look at the goal, if we're looking at the goal, and this soccer field is going to help kids be developed more, and adults get out of the streets, and play a thing that they won't get in trouble. So that's why I'm here. So I just wanted to let you guys know.
Thank you. Hey, Ryan Ash, followed by Lupe Fanyas, followed by Weston Ash.
Good evening. I feel like the one at the end of a class where it's, any other questions? I kind of raise my hand, look around. Everyone wants to go home. So sorry, but thank you for hearing me tonight. I just want to voice my support for the soccer park. I have 3 young boys. We live about a half mile from the park. We don't live on Grapevine, but it is the closest community park to our home. So 3 young boys, and my wife is at home. She homeschools. The boys go to Coastal Academy. And so it's nice to have a place where we can go and the boys can play. But I'll be honest with you, I've taken my boys there. We are a part of that pickup crew that shows up there occasionally and plays. I bring my boys down there. Unfortunately, I wouldn't feel comfortable sending my boys there alone. And so that's why I'm in support of this. I heard a couple people mention that crime and negativity don't show up at parks that are full of people. They typically show up at parks that are empty. My experiences there, I haven't seen other people there other than some people pass out against trees. We have to clean the field before we can play on it because there's so much garbage and dog feces laying in the field. So it's pretty run down, but it is a fun place to go. It's a beautiful location. I think the backdrop's awesome. I love soccer. I love watching soccer. I think it was Matt that just mentioned the noise of kids. That's cool. I enjoy that and think it's great. So we're in support of it. I'd love a place that we could go and feel safe going with our kids as well. And right now I think it's a great location for older couples to walk together, or, it's very exclusive though, and that's about it. So I'd like to see it opened up to the community. There aren't a lot of parks that everybody can go to, and right now I feel like it's kind of a park that's dedicated to maybe those 200 residents that are right there, and the rest of us are kind of left out. So thank you.
Thank you. Lupe, followed by Weston Ash, followed by Jessica Pittman.
Hello. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I didn't want to speak, but I felt that I had to address a couple of issues. First of all, I've been here a couple times in regards to the arena. Obviously, I'm in support. I'm with Vista Soccer Club. But I don't know where $500 an hour came from. So I heard that was a rumor that came out maybe on the web, something about only semi-pro teams. I don't know. I just want to address that. I don't know anything about $500 an hour. It's not something that we've even gotten to discuss. Another very important part that I think we're missing is the number of kids we're going to be servicing. Our club alone services 1,400 kids a year. I don't know about Tiffany's, but I know you guys have a lot too. We are the only city in North Carolina that does not have an arena. We need it. We just need it. I do expect the city to do their due diligence with all the concerns of the residents. It is their neighborhood, but the bottom line is the park belongs to the city, and it belongs to the residents of Vista. And this would benefit our kids. Period. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Weston Ash, and then followed by Jessica Pittman.
Hi, my name is Weston Ash, and I'm in favor of the Vista Soccer Field because if you're going to build a dog park and all that stuff, why not build a soccer field? It would take up just as much space. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Pittman. I believe that's our last speaker.
Thank you for having us here. I am a resident in the neighborhood. I live a street over from the park itself. I have 2 young daughters who do play competitive soccer with the Vista Storm Soccer Club, and I do support this field. I, on off seasons, take my daughters to Encinitas and Escondido to play in the indoor soccer leagues there. If we had this park here, it would offer my daughters an opportunity to play in our own residence, in our own city. I do feel, and I've listened to the concerns of all the residents, but I am a resident myself in that neighborhood, and I feel that if you look at the Vista Sports Park, there's a neighborhood that's built right around it. There's the ability to have an arena soccer field there as well.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have some photographs that I wanted to show for the benefit of the audience and council in case somebody hasn't been over there. I think everybody has been over there. And I wanted to show you exactly what a small neighborhood park this is in a neighborhood. And I think Kathy, our city clerk, is going to put up the slides for me. One of the things to note about the park is it's off of Grapevine Drive going down Grapevine Lane, which is a very small street, hence it's a lane, and it has houses on either side. That street, Grapevine Lane, dead ends into the park. It is not a through street, much less a thoroughfare or a major arterial. The other access point for the street, so here's the first slide. This shows you looking down at the park from down Grapevine Lane. So behind me in this photograph is Grapevine Drive. This is Grapevine Lane. You see a few houses here on either side. Straight ahead is the green space of the park. So if you look at the next photograph, and then I think the other street is at the back end of these, so I'll just go in order with these. This is a photograph of the wall, which is constantly covered with graffiti, and then it gets painted out. And I know in the city we use tobacco brown paint to repaint the graffiti, so I'm not sure where all the pink and the gray is. We can go to the next slide, because the next slide is more graffiti going down that wall. And we can talk about landscaping, because I think some creative landscaping ideas could help keep the graffiti away from there, keep people away from that wall. We have some other things that we could do besides just a couple of trees, grass, and tobacco brown paint. But you can go to the next slide. And again, more walls with different colored paint on them. I can't even tell you what's going on with the amphitheater style seating, but I do have a question since we're on this slide. And I think, Mr. Winnie, you'd be able to answer it. In the previous description of what's going to be done here, it said amphitheater-style seating. Is that because we're keeping the existing seating?
Correct. We're keeping that seating and rehabbing it.
Okay, thank you. So we can go to the next slide. This is a picture of the park from the sign where it says Bub Williamson Park, and you can see in the middle of the photograph a fence going across the park. That fence will come down, and the arena soccer field will take up from the far end where you see the red curb on the left side, will come from that parking space across the field, across where that fence is, and into what would be the infield of the current softball field. So you're taking away a significant portion of this park for a 200-foot by 80-foot by 8-foot high walled arena field. So we can go to the next slide. This is the second access point to the park. The first one was coming down Grapevine Lane, which is a very small street with houses on both sides, no sidewalks on that street, on that lane. The second access, this is Huff Street, and you can see that it has a road, but it is gated, and the gates are locked at this point. And you can go to the next slide, please. Again, it's another look of going down from inside the park toward Huff Street. And the next slide you'll see is from Huff Street looking into the park. And then the next slide is the last slide. Huff Street is actually a cul-de-sac. And again, it is not a through street. It is not an arterial of any kind. It is not a major arterial. So The first entrance, the main entrance, is off of a little lane that dead ends into the park. The second entrance is on a small residential street through a residential neighborhood that dead ends into a cul-de-sac. And then we have the gate there. The third side of the park, which was mentioned, is bordered by Grapevine Elementary School. And the fourth side is the wooded area on the backside toward Emerald. And that has a lot of environmental critters in it. I understand we've got hawks and whatnot in there. And that's a consideration that some people have brought up. So the only ways to come into the park are through this little neighborhood, through these residential streets, down a dead-end street, or through a cul-de-sac. I live on a cul-de-sac, and I really wouldn't want the extra traffic coming through. The issues that the park has, and we have to recognize that this park does have some issues. It's run down, as was stated a couple of times, and it needs to have updated and ADA-compliant bathrooms. That the Americans with Disabilities Act, it needs to come into compliance for the restrooms. As you saw in the photographs, there is a significant graffiti issue in this park that has been ongoing for a very long time. There are also signs of homeless people living in the park. When I was there a couple of Sundays ago, there was actually, I went down there to take pictures. One of the residents alerted me to some trash back there. I went back there to take pictures, and not only was there trash back there, there was actually a person in there. So I backed out rather quickly, having taken pictures of the trash. And the concern is that this is a passive park. There aren't a lot of amenities there, that it is a passive park. And having a passive park, there aren't a lot of people coming and going all day, and that lends itself to the graffiti, the homelessness, and any other nefarious activity that might be happening. And rehabilitating the park and activating it is a way to combat some of the nefarious behaviors. And definitely a soccer arena would be one of the ways of activating it. But also, adding the dog parks, one for the large dogs, one for the smaller dogs, adding 2 playgrounds for little kids and bigger kids, adding picnic tables, leveling the green space so that it's not 2 different levels, but making it 1 level so that we could continue to have pickup games. And every time I'm at that park on a weekend, there are pickup games of either soccer or football. Having these amenities, the dog run, the playground, the picnic tables, etc., those also work to activate the space, adding amenities that bring people in, make it a more desirable area. But adding the soccer arena will turn this neighborhood park into a destination spot with a soccer field that will be lighted and taking up a significant portion of the existing park. And it will bring people from all over to this little teeny tiny neighborhood, down this little lane or through this little cul-de-sac, and not necessarily from across the Vistance, because as it was mentioned, it's a city park. And the neighborhood realizes that. It's not their park, it's a Vista park. But bringing people from across North County or San Diego down this little lane or this cul-de-sac is a concern. And I do have a question, because it has come up, about my understanding is, and please correct me if I am wrong, that soccer arena, the 200-foot by 80-foot by 8-foot high, will be locked when it is not in use by the leagues or people who have rented it. Is that correct?
No, the plan is to have it open and available for play, and Mr. Dykeman
So,
can
well,
address
thank
that
you.
a
You
little bit
answered
more.
my question. It was a yes or no question.
Yeah.
So I know the neighbors are happy to hear that they'll be able to use it, so that the neighbors can get in and use it for pickup games and things. But the flip side of that is other people can get in there, and it's a 200-foot by 80-foot with an 8-foot high place to hide and do other nefarious behavior. And that's one of the concerns that the neighbors have with that. And I know that somebody had put in one of the emails that was sent to the council, they spoke to a sheriff's deputy, and I can't confirm or deny this, I have no idea, but a sheriff's deputy had said that they were concerned about the behavior or what could happen inside that spot, and they can't see into it and they can't see beyond it because, I mean, it's a structure, it's not invisible. So I know that the people talked about the safety with the additional traffic down Grapevine Lane, and possibly if it was opened, the pedestrian gate on Huff Street, you would have cars coming and going from both Huff Street and Grapevine Lane. There's the light pollution that people talked about, but also the noise pollution, and I understand amplification would not be allowed at this.
Correct.
And we appreciate that, but we also know that people bring their own little amplification things and they have to be dealt with. But in addition to anything that somebody would not be allowed to bring with them but did anyways, you would have the cheering of the crowds for the kids. And again, this is until 9 o'clock at night, and then when the games are over, you have however long it takes for everybody to get out and all the noise from the cars coming and going. So I do think this is of concern. Now, my niece grew up playing soccer. She's 24 now, and she grew up playing soccer in leagues as well. And I have no doubt whatsoever that a lot of what she brings to the table as a grown woman today, she learned on the field of soccer with people. And I strongly support having an arena soccer field in Vista. I think it's important that we have that, and I want to bring that to Vista. Bub Williamson Park is not the place for it, though. This is a very small park in a neighborhood with small streets, and the environmental issue with the backside and what's going on there, I think, should be addressed as well. So what I would like to do, and I'm going to move, I'm making a motion, I want to not go ahead with the RFP at this point. I do want to continue the plans to rehab this park, eliminating the soccer arena component to it. And I would like to see us hold, if not two, at least one community neighborhood meeting at the park to discuss designs for the park. So that is my motion.
Okay,
Thank you,
so I
Madam
have
Mayor.
lots of speakers here. So, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to apologize to the 4 people who weren't able to stay and didn't get to speak to begin with. And one speaker had noted that if we save the money on this project, we could contribute that money to Solutions for Change. I just wanted to clarify that they're 2 different segregated funds, and the law doesn't allow us to use them for different purposes. So, unfortunately, that wouldn't be possible. I support Councilwoman Rigby's motion, and I'm going to second it. I'm not opposed to soccer. I played soccer when I was a youngster. I never played or practiced past dark. I don't know if that's the practice of the league, but I certainly never had a competitive game that took place in the dark hours. Maybe that's commonplace now. I'm not familiar with that. And I never played arena soccer. I played on a small 270-foot by 135-foot, minimum regulation size field. I don't know if the demand for a soccer field is only for an arena field, or if the larger ordinary regulation field is still desirable. I don't know the answer to that. But one thing that I think we really have to point out, and that I'm going to ask my council colleagues to take particular note of, and I'm also going to ask all the citizens here to take particular note of, Carlsbad is a city of 39 square miles, Oceanside 42 square miles, Escondido 38 square miles, San Marcos is 24 square miles, surrounded by numerous large tracts of county land, which is continuously being annexed in. It's a quickly growing city that's surrounded by lots of land that it can acquire. The city of Vista, on the other hand, is 18.68 square miles. So it should not be a mystery to us or confound us why we are in the unfortunate position. We're landlocked. We don't have a lot of additional parkland, although I have asked the city staff to report back to me, and I'd really like to ask that the council direct the staff tonight to report back to us on the possibilities of new land that we might be able to acquire to create a totally new park for this purpose. I don't totally understand why the arena soccer field would not work at Bringle Terrace, but maybe it's the topography. Having been to Bub Williamson Park, I am completely compelled by the idea that it is in fact a neighborhood park, and I understand that the neighborhood park down the road from my house does not belong to my neighbors. It belongs to everybody in the city. However, those of us who own homes near neighborhood parks, which are small parks that were really built as amenities for the homeowners in the surrounding area, unlike, say, Sports Park or Bringle Terrace, which are really designed for a regional draw. They're designed to have amenities that are gathering places for the city, not just the neighborhood. And I think it's a total fallacy if we don't recognize the fact that some parks are built as amenities for neighbors and some are built as amenities for the city in general to draw people together. I think we really need to give some credence to that idea because, in the future, this could be the park down the street from my house or yours, and I would be just as upset about it as the residents who came to speak here tonight. And, we have not had a lot of issues in my time on the council when 35 people came to speak on something. Once or twice I was in the position I was very unhappy about, which was I strongly felt that 30 people were wrong about something because they were misinformed. This time there's no misinformation. This is a preference issue, and there's no great compelling interest. I supported the soccer arena initially because of the idea. I was very on the fence. Nobody came to speak in favor of it. And now we have folks who are here in favor of it, and I appreciate that you're here. However, we didn't have folks early on that were proponents of it, but I was very moved by the argument that it would displace the crime and that we could do something for the people that lived in this neighborhood to abate a crime issue for them. That was the reason, and it was the sole reason that I supported it. I thought that that was something that the neighbors would find to be a compelling and a good thing. I was wrong, and I'm glad that you've made us aware that we were wrong, that I was wrong at least, because I've changed my mind now. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. But I do strongly oppose the park at this point. I really just, I don't think it fits in this park. It's way too big, and I'd like to see us find another place to do it. I want to provide these youngsters a great place to, have play games in Vista, not have to drive to Encinitas. And I think we should make it a top priority, but this is not the correct option. It doesn't serve everyone's interests, and that to me is a deep concern. Thanks.
Councilmember Green.
All right. Once again, thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, everybody, for speaking tonight. It's really good to hear from the community, and that's why we invite you, welcome you, and I'm super glad you guys all came here. There's been a lot of talk about, is this a public park? Is this a neighborhood park? What kind of park is this? Great arguments on both sides. I heard Katrina speak earlier about saying, hey, this is just like putting a Reno Soccer and Rain Tree Park right there off Townside Drive. That was actually my park that I grew up in. The difference between these two parks is that one doesn't have a huge parking lot. This one does have 56 parking spots, which are unused. I do feel like this is more of a public park than a neighborhood park. However, one thing that I feel is that community input definitely was not given. I don't feel like it was requested properly. I don't feel like we had the proper workshops. Even in just looking over the paperwork that was given to me on what the Parks and Rec community or commission decided and how it was kind of pushed forward. I do support kind of halting the RFP. I don't support taking the arena soccer off altogether because I feel like the people who like it should be able to talk about it, just like the people who don't like it should be able to talk about it. I feel like we should stop, having people bid it and wasting our money until we figure out exactly what our community wants as a whole. So I guess my recommendation is that we stop the RFP for now, but we have community workshops so that we can figure out exactly what we're doing with it. I do want to make sure that you guys know I have a lot of friends and family, and I have a bunch of kids in this town that play different sports, and I know a lot of soccer players, lots of soccer families. I got a bunch of calls from them. Arena soccer is something that's probably going to come to Vista. I'd love for it to come to Vista. I think all you, even in the Grapevine neighborhood, would probably love for it to come to Vista. I hear the analogy of a square peg in a round hole. Pound it a whole lot, doesn't fit in there. So that might be what we come up with, but we also may come up with, hey, this is perfect. And even as the neighbors, you guys might decide it's perfect, but we might decide it's not. What I'd request from the staff is that we set up some community workshops. I think that our council members should be present at those workshops. So maybe talk to all of us about what our schedules are. But that's my biggest issue with it. I'm all for dog park, huge, new tot lot, huge. I get the deal. The other two big things that are kind of making me hold off on this that I feel like we didn't get answers to, that there's questions. Number one, the environmental impact. If there really are nesting birds back there, I would hate to approve a soccer field, put tons of money into it, and then this wonderful falcon hold everything up, all right? The other issue is in an email that I received, it indicated that our traffic engineer hadn't personally reviewed the traffic impacts over there that an outside consultant had. I don't know who paid that consultant, but I'd really like our traffic engineer to also look at the traffic impact as well, possibly before our community forum workshop, so we can tell these lovely people what our traffic people came up with as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, we definitely heard from the public today, both sides. Thank both sides for being here. I would have to agree with Councilman Green in that I think we need to have more public workshops. Public workshops are where you can sand the corners of that square peg and maybe make it fit more properly, and that's what happens there is you hear from both sides and you start sanding down and you find something that's going to work for both sides. So I'm not agreeing to throw the park or the arena soccer out yet. I think through these workshops we're going to find out what the public really wants. We have 1,400 families that are represented here at least, so that's a lot of families here. And I do understand, where this side of the council chambers is coming from too. I live half a mile from the sports park. I love my peace and quiet. I live in that area. I picked to live in that area because it is very quiet. I also have a telescope, and I do like to occasionally bring in, take a look at the stars or the moon, or I can never get the eclipses, though. I never get that figured out. But, I don't hear it. I don't see it. And I am half a mile from the sports park. It's 3 baseball fields, 2 soccer fields, and they are always busy. I was involved in Little League Baseball. We played at that sports park, but we also practiced over at Bub Williamson a couple of times in Grapevine. And as one of the speakers earlier mentioned, one of the reasons I coached Little League, besides the fact that my kids were involved, is I know that it keeps these kids busy. And part of the problem we're having with that park right now is that we have possibly some youth that weren't busy or are not busy right now in sports that are loitering, graffiti, and this is why this is in front of us. We've been talking about this since 2015. We were trying to find ways to activate that park so that you guys wouldn't have the problems that you have. One of the people I was hoping we'd hear from, probably not necessary at this point, but is the sheriff. This is a complete problem. One of the reasons I stopped practicing my Little League baseball team there at Bub Williamson and requested to move up to Grapevine is because of what we had to deal with down there. It didn't feel safe to me. And part of that is because it's not very active. I've gone down there recently. The last time I was there was 1 car parked there, and I don't know what those people were doing in the car, but they weren't playing soccer or baseball or softball. I did see a gentleman there playing with his son, and I think they were kicking the ball around, but that was it. That's all I saw was 4 people, and half of what was not good and not supposed to be happening in that park. So we do want, basically what I'm trying to say is we want to find a way to make this park a safe place for everybody. And I've heard this a couple of times tonight, that it's a passive park. It's not a passive park. There's a couple of softball fields there. It's a dead park right now because nobody's using it. Nobody wants to use it. So we're trying to find uses for it. And it sounds like we've at least got a couple of good uses on the agenda right now. And we may have to rework the third one. I don't know. We'll see. And I'd like to invite everybody in this room to those community meetings so that we can talk this out and we can hear from everybody. So I would support Mr. Green and your suggestion. I don't know if that was a motion or not. I think we already have a motion on the table, so perhaps the mayor would like to speak on that.
I would like to speak. I agree with all of you. So, and actually, for the last 2 weeks, I've been driving all over Vista looking for a big area that we could put, it's not close to homes, that we could put a soccer arena, because I think we definitely need one, and I just can't find the place for it. But I keep driving around looking at commercial, big commercial fields, and I found one that I thought was good, and it was like $1,075,000 or something. Yeah, so that was like, oh, that's so expensive to buy that land. So, but anyway, I'm still looking. So if you guys can help us with that, that would be, if you see some land that is not so expensive and that it's kind of a flat area that's not around homes, that would be a good thing. So our fields are so busy in Vista. I mean, our fields are used all the time, and I think if they're blocked off, it's because they've scheduled different teams in there, and so that they block them off when they reserve them. So, but I coached Bobby Sox when I was little. No, when I was little, my kids were little, and so I know how important it is to keep the kids busy when they're growing up. And my little granddaughter, who is 6, is playing soccer. So, I mean, I have my grandkids are all into sports, and so I get it all. So, and my big worry for that park, for Williamson Park, is because I went over there, and it's a beautiful park, but my worry is the crime in there. And I know that I think the bathroom just got graffiti this morning by Vista Homeboys, and so they have their stake there, and you have I think earlier this week or a couple weeks ago they had a stolen car was picked up there, and some you had some strange people there. So I don't know. Somehow we've got to make that park busier so that a lot of people use it. And I know that maybe it's not arena soccer, but it has to become much busier, so that because that's what keeps the crime away, is when the people are there using it. So. Anyway, that's what we have. People want to speak again. Deputy Mayor.
I just briefly wanted to ask if Councilwoman Rigby would be willing to amend her motion to include a direction to staff to bring back to the council a list of possible locations for a arena soccer field, to include current land owned by the city, and also to include potential land available for acquisition. They don't have to do it on the same day, but if we could include that direction, I would like to see some staff time spent on that question of whether or not there is a suitable place that we can find that we can serve everybody's interests.
Yes, I would be willing to amend my motion with that. And then I heard a couple of council members also say that they weren't supportive of taking the soccer arena out of the plans at this point. But if we can continue and have the community meetings and then bring this back again, I'm willing to take that portion out of my motion as well, so that my motion would be to continue with plans to rehab the park and hold community workshops in the park with the residents to discuss the designs for the park, and to also include staff coming back with possible locations, because we are committed to a soccer arena in the city. Nobody here doesn't want soccer. Nobody here doesn't want soccer. We do want soccer, but we want to find the right place in the city that will, as it was said, benefit the whole city. And so that's what we want to work on. So I would amend my motion that way. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor again.
Can I just clarify that would your motion still suspend the RFP process at this time? Okay. All right. Then I give my second to that.
Okay, we have, Councilmember Aguilera.
But the soccer arena is not taken out.
It's not taken out per se, just what comes back to us as far as the workshops and the direction to discuss it.
But we are asking staff to put the brakes on that for the moment.
Right, the RFP. You know, I get that. We have to do that anyway, so.
They're asking me my microphone, to stop the RFP from going forward until we go through this process to decide what we're going to do with the park.
Okay, do we need to vote on that?
Nope.
We have a motion and a second. Do we not vote on it?
I think I have your new direction. Thank you.
You have new direction? Okay. Okay, so with that, he says you don't need to vote on it. They have direction. So, okay, we have direction. You guys hear all of the direction we're going to do? So we're done with that item. Now you can go to bed, but we can't. Okay. I could go to sleep.
Anybody else need 2 minutes to stretch their legs?
Okay.
It could.
Should we take a break real quick?
Yeah, maybe take 2 minutes.
We're going to take a 2-minute break so that we can get the crowd out. And then nobody will be left. Oh. What was this? Thank you very much.
Doug. What's up?
Hey, man.
How are you? Lovely, good.
Driving around looking for that place for that. So keep driving around. Let us know. Okay. I know, it's tough. It's tough. I know. Well, I mean, parks are supposed to be needed. That's why we use the land is the problem. Everybody look. Keep looking for it. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm from Michigan. I get my part. They have parks in Michigan. I like trees and grass and.
So that's what
But we don't have any parks like that.
Right. The birds are there. Still more. No, there's another.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
They spend the night here and night and they're like, can't do it.
It's called kicking the can down the road. We're not going to do anything. Just kick it down the road.
Well, for me, now you go, I'm older than you are. Okay, everybody, sit down so we can leave and go home and go to. So we have such a large audience now. Thank you guys for sticking around. We needed just a few diehards out there. Okay, so let's see, where are we? We are D2, appointment process for the Planning, Traffic, and Community Safety Commissions. Councilmember Rigby requested this item be put on the agenda, so I'm going to turn that over to her.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the city having recently gone to elections by district, we have 4 districts, and each of the 4 council members will represent a district, and the mayor, of course, still elected at large. I was looking at some of the commissions that we have in the city and how what they do impacts the city. And the Planning Commission, the Traffic Commission, and even the Public Safety Commission, I think are commissions that the Planning Commission looks at particular projects in particular parts of town and makes recommendations. And the Traffic Commission looks at traffic issues all over the city and makes recommendations. And I think it's important that if we're going to be having council districts with people representing particular districts and neighborhoods within the city, I don't know if there's support for it, but I think it's something to think about and to talk about is to also making sure that the voices of these particular districts and these neighborhoods have a constant voice on each of these commissions. That's not always the case. Sometimes commissions might not have anybody from a particular part of Vista or a particular district as we have them now. So I just wanted to have a conversation with my colleagues to see if there was any support for what I would request is that we ask staff to investigate and bring back to us a way that we could with the commissions that are particular areas, traffic, planning, et cetera, working in different neighborhoods. If there was a way to look at having those seats or some of those seats, because we have 4 council members, our commissions have 7 commissioners. If not all 7 seats, and I think the mayor also should have, her pick, at large person. So if it's not all 7 seats or some of the seats, and each person is up in a particular year for their reappointment, just like we are for reelection, have them cascade into a cycle. So it might take a few years to get it on track. But I think it's worth having a conversation if we want to make sure that our districts have a constant voice on each of those commissions. So I just wanted to hear from my colleagues what you thought about asking staff to come back perhaps with something that we can look at in the future.
Deputy Mayor.
I'm going to make perhaps an unpopular proposal. I've made it in the past. I think I'd like to make a motion that we change the policy that on every board and commission that each member of the council be permitted to appoint 1 member of that board or commission, and that the mayor would retain the power to appoint all others. So like if there's 7 on a particular commission, then the council members would each get to make, and let me take back the word appointment, nomination to be confirmed by the council. Each council member get to nominate 1 commissioner, and then that would leave 3 for the mayor to nominate, giving the mayor a much weighted position in those nominations. I think that would do 2 things. I think it would help foster relationships between individual council members, and I wouldn't put an absolute restriction that they have to live in our district. I think it would be in our interest to pick people who live in our district, and I think we would likely do that. But in the event there's no applicants for a particular job from the residents of our district, then we need to consider another candidate. I would want to leave that possibility open. But I think it would help us build a better personal relationship with with members of each of the commissions and boards, and would create some better dialogue, which I think that we could benefit from, actually. And I forgot what the other benefit was, but the other benefit was we could reduce substantially the quantity of time that we currently spend with interviews, because there are so many folks that apply for the numerous boards and commissions. If each of us were responsible for nominating our one for each board and commission, I think that would save some time. We would kind of divide and conquer there. So I don't know if there's a second for that idea. Maybe it's very unpopular, or maybe everyone likes it. There you have it.
Councilmember Aguilera.
No.
Oh, were you first? Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm really opposed to the idea, and I'll tell you why. I think it divides the city. I got a list of where, not addresses, but just districts. I've got, if we're already calling ourselves in a district, I've got one person out of all the commissions that lives in my district, and I'm okay with that, because I like the picks that we've made, and I think it's important that we move. We're in districts because we had to do that, and I think we can definitely benefit as a city from being in districts. I think will put us more in touch with our constituents. We have to answer to those constituents, so I'm okay with that. But I think when we do this, politics are entering into this, and it seems to me like more of a power issue. You want to have somebody that's got your back on Planning Commission and maybe speaks for you. I like the idea that things go to the Planning Commission. We don't always agree, as has been mentioned in the past. But that's okay. We don't always agree up here. And the earlier item, not everybody agreed, but we'll come to a resolution, and it's going to be good for the entire community. And when something goes to the Planning Commission that maybe comes back to us and we have to make revisions, well, that's what we're there for. We're not there for, or the Planning Commission isn't there to rubber stamp our ideas and our projects. And I feel like that's exactly what would happen. I know it's a lot of work, and as far as picking, I agree with you on that. It would be easier, but that's part of the process. That's why we get paid, is to put the time in to find planning commissioners. And a lot of this stems from the Planning Commission. And I look at this Planning Commission that we have right now, and they're spread out throughout the city for the most part. We've got architect, attorney, someone that represents South Vista. We've got people all over that with different personalities, but more importantly, I think with different attributes, strengths that they bring to the table, and I think it's really important to have that diversity there. So I prefer where we're at right now. And the biggest thing I'd like to remind the council right now is we're still all elected at large. We haven't even been elected as council members representing a district. I was elected by people in North Vista, Shadow Ridge, West Vista, East Vista. They didn't all vote for me, of course. But, I represent the entire city, and I will continue to represent the entire city moving forward. I think this only divides the city. So, thank you.
Councilmember Green.
All right, so I'm the new guy on the Planning Commission and all these selections. I actually missed one day of interviews, and I missed like half of the people. So a lot of these people I've never even met before who are on these commissions. The commission selection was different for me because it seemed like a lot of the people who interviewed might not have even had a shot at getting the job before they walked through the door. And for me, that's not cool. So I, specifically when people were in there, we was told there were incumbents that had been doing okay and we might just redo that. And I think if a lot of people would have known that that was going to be the outcome, maybe they might not have even showed up. And I want to try to get the best talent that's out there for the entire city, not just for my district. But I do think that when we go to districts, it is going to be important that we have somebody from each district on these commissions. And I think that regardless of how we feel individually about it, our districts want to be represented on there. But I think I love the interview process. I want to be in for all the interviews. I want to see who you guys are picking. I want to see who you're interviewing. I don't think the interview process needs to change, but I do think there should be some more discussion on how these commissions are picked. And once we do go to districts and we're not elected at large, I do feel like we have that obligation to our district for them to be properly represented, because everybody in District 2 are driving on different roads than the people in District 4 and the people in District 1. And, you know, for traffic commission, that's huge to know. I was just driving down Foothill Drive at Vista Way, and I realized you can make a U-turn there. If you're watching on TV, please don't try it. It is extremely dangerous. But I don't know who in District 2 hasn't ever seen that U-turn happen before on the Traffic Commission. I have 3 people on the Traffic Commission, I think, in my particular district. But I do feel like if we had somebody that we knew, that we personally selected in our district, that was accountable to us, we're going to have our finger on the pulse of the community better, because I'm going to know what's going on. I'm not going to have to wait for the once-a-year commission dinner that I have for an update. I'm going to be able to hear every time they have a meeting, you know, I selected that person. I want to have open access with them. I'll tell you right now, I haven't received a call from anybody on any of these commissions this year that wanted to speak with me about anything in the pipe, anything in my area, what my opinion was. And if they're really supposed to be working with us, they should know us, they should communicate with us. So either we change the process or we change how we communicate with them. But I definitely think it's something to look at. So I'm glad it's on the agenda, because I felt like we were rubber stamping a lot of people who applied for commissions this year. And for me, that's not how I do interviews. So I do think something needs to change. I think while we're at large still, we keep it as is, but I think staff does need to look at a way to where, as we're elected, we're implementing people from our districts, because eventually we're accountable to our districts. And we knew districting was going to put us into pockets when we did it, and it is what it is. But as long as we focus on Vista as a whole, we'll be good. And hopefully we can make good selections as council people of who we put in those positions. That's why we were elected. So let's use that moral compass that got us elected to get good representatives and go from there. So please, staff, do something. Thank you.
I disagree with you, and I agree with John. I think he said it very well. I don't like yes people. I think that we have our general plan and things, and the council and our planning people know that, and they follow that. I don't want it to be political. I don't want somebody to kiss up to me because they want to be on my planning commission or want to be my planning commissioner. I want people who are qualified, who are going to make good decisions. I don't want to tell them what to do, because they might have good ideas and other ideas than I am. So I disagree with you. I don't want yes people and people that are, it's going to be a political thing. Believe me, it's going to be a political thing, because you're going to have, you are going to do less interviews. You're going to do more interviews in your area. And maybe you won't find somebody who's quite as qualified as you would if you go the whole city. And I want to say that districting is not good for the cities. I still don't think it's good. We were made to do that. So I would hope that everybody would still represent the entire city. And I know that, I don't think that we should say, well, this is my district, so I'm going to do represent just that. I think it gives them someone to talk to and to go to, but I would hope this decision you make would be the best decision for the entire city and not for just one district. So that's, anyway. So who would like to speak? Amanda would like to speak. Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list that my colleagues are looking at with regard to the 3 commissions I talked about, community safety, planning, and traffic, and it has a list of the commissioners and what district they live in. I was only given that yesterday. It was after I put this on the agenda. So I had no clue who was in District 3 prior to yesterday, and I really hadn't asked for a list. And I'm sorry, I didn't think it was political. I don't come at it from political. And I'm sorry that that's the first place you went to, was to think that it is political. I'm talking about, we were forced into districts. Our entire city now is district-centric. And the community, as Councilman Green said, our districts are going to be looking, they were supportive of some of them, most of them, for the districts, because it would give them particular representation and a voice I think, and I said this before, I think everybody has always had a voice with any of the five of us. Anybody who calls us or emails us, I know for me, I go to people's houses. I meet them in the community. They come here. I will meet with anybody anywhere in my community, and I think that my colleagues are the same. I like to think so. So I think everybody has always had the opportunity to speak to us, but now that we are forced into districts, it does change the mindset and the way that the city is going to be represented. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up and have the discussion and ask for staff to come back with some kind of rolling way to implement it. And I will always represent all of Vista because Vista is my home. The entire city is my home, not just from, Sunset to Olive and west of Melrose. I live in Olive Vista. I shop Olive Vista. I play Olive Vista, which is why my hashtag is D1234. I represent the entire city and always will. This was trying to align the commissions with the new council districts, and it was up for discussion. So I appreciate my colleagues' willingness to discuss it, and I will go ahead. Can you repeat your motion for me, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, my motion was that on each of the boards and commissions that whenever there are at least 5 members, that each member of the council would be entitled to nominate one member to lay before the council for the council's approval. So it would not be an appointment; it would be a nomination for the council to approve. And I think we could easily create a seniority system where those who have served on the council the longest would have access to the first vacancy. And then that would establish an order. We can assign a seat number. The planning commissioners will have 4 who will have a seat number and 3 who will be at large. The mayor will get to appoint the at large. Anytime there are, on any board or commission, anytime there are a number greater than 5, the mayor would be entitled to appoint any number 5, 6, 7, and beyond. And I think that would be a pretty orderly system.
I would second that motion.
Councilmember Green.
I think he answered that for me, and that's kind of where I was going with it from the political, the political worries that you have is that inevitably they're not appointments, they're nominations. So we could always vote them down collectively if there was a, nominee per se we didn't think was there for the right reasons. As a council, we still vote. So with that said, as far as the motion goes, does that include if nobody applies from your district, are you allowed to?
Correct. I'm not in the motion, I'm not placing a restriction. They don't have to live in your district. Again, I think we'll probably likely seek out someone from our district, but they would not be required to live in a particular district. That's only because if there are no applicants from, say, the 3rd district or the 2nd district, then you'd have to look beyond that. So,
okay, and we're talking about rolling this out upon the implementation of districts when elections by district start in 2018.
My proposal, if it's a deal breaker, I'm willing to talk about that, but my proposal is that the Planning Commission, we've got a few folks who are up in 2018. I believe the mayor has served longer than any other member of the council, so she would get to make her at-large appointment first. And then what I would suggest is after she makes one appointment, that Councilman Aguilera, who's the next most senior member of the council, that he would get to the next vacancy would be his to nominate, and so on. And then once each member of the council had nominated. Then the mayor would get the remaining 2 at large. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Can I ask a clarifying question in
Sure.
case this goes forward? In your motion, it's all commissions and boards, not just the 3 that Councilwoman Rigby mentioned, and because I think that's what I heard. And you still want to accept applications, but you will nominate, council members will nominate
Right.
from those applications. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to also have a dialogue and a better relationship with a member of the Arts Commission. I think that's also important. I have never had a commissioner ever call me to ask me what I thought about anything. Shame on me for not, I guess, reaching out to tell them what I thought about stuff. But it would be nice to just, it's not about collusion or making somebody your yes man. It's about somebody understanding that they have a unique relationship with a particular member of the council and saying, hey, the following things there's something controversial coming up. I wonder what a member of the council thinks. I'm going to call them and I'm going to have a dialogue. I'm not getting that right now at all. I don't know if other members of the council are. I'm not having any dialogue with anybody. And I feel, I don't know if you are, but if you are and I'm not, I'm left out. And so that's the reason. And I'll just conclude because I had my button pressed. I think I'm stepping on someone's time, but I'll just conclude with the remark that I think we proved tonight that though, and absolutely I continue to represent everybody in the city, and I will if I have the good fortune to be reelected. But I think we really proved tonight that we have the entire city's interest, not just the interest of, what happens at Bub Williamson Park is of no great concern to the people of the 4th District. But I care deeply about them because they are my neighbors, as one of the folks said. So that's all I got.
Councilor Aguilera.
I just wanted to say that I've talked to many of the commissioners over various things, whether it's traffic or planning. So anyways, I just want to throw that out there. Well, I think that if you think that the nomination, and approval by council is going to take the politics out of it, I think it only makes it worse. So that's all I've got to say.
Okay, I don't have anything left to say, I guess. Councilmember Green does. Go.
When is the last time that we changed our policy for nominating people for the Planning Commission and things like that? Have we been doing it the same for a very long time?
Always.
So it's never changed. It's always been like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table. It's been, right? Okay. I guess that's a good question, Patrick, is if there, do we vote on this, if they want us to vote on this? Okay.
That motion passes with three and 2 noes. Okay, so are there any oral communications? People have waited all this time. Let's see. I have 3 people that have waited all this time to speak. Okay. Mark Woodard, followed by Timothy Bingham, and followed by Chad Spinks. What? Did I say it wrong?
Yes, for Marvin Mazzell. He was here for D2.
Is Marvin Mazzell here? He was here for D2. Marvin? Oh, he went home. Okay. Okay. So is Mark Woodard here? He's gone. No, he's gone too. Okay. Well, that's easy. Timothy Bingham. Are you on? I don't think you're on.
Here we go. I see a green light.
Try it now.
Try it now. Here we are.
Yeah.
Council members, my name is Timothy Bingham, 92081. 2 items real quick. In Ms. Zimmerman's agenda report titled Medical Marijuana Access, one of the guidelines for delivery within the city has a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. delivery time frame. When we're on the agenda again, we will ask for your consideration to change the delivery window to 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. This is a customer service driven, and we will try and provide supporting data at that time. Secondly, I have emailed a couple of your colleagues, and this is an excerpt from that. I want to speak about the banking situation. I have to hide the name of my business because it has the word cannabis in it. The state legalizes monetary exchange for cannabis and is preparing ways to accept millions of dollars in cash for itself while cutting loose the business person seeking banking help to fend for themselves, pushing cannabis back in the closet, as I have had to open a management company to hide transactions from the dispensary because the banks will not step up, as everyone else has tried to step up. I understand, we all understand the federal situation. It's our thought that these bankers need to grow, and excuse me, I know this sounds like a personal business problem, you guys handle that, but as we go and develop our safety and security for this dispensary in this town, this always pops to the forefront. And I'm asking, I will try to contact you individually, and I'm asking if we can maybe rally these bankers in the jurisdiction for some type of a roundtable and pick their brains about how to spearhead the capability of handling millions of dollars that are about to come through here. As I said, personally, as the businessman, it's safety and security, but this includes us all. I'm sorry. This includes us all. As we get over the next few weeks, possibly I can get some response from you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is Chad Spinks here?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, staff. I just wanted to take a few moments to voice a couple of personal safety concerns for the city, or I guess public concerns for safety. The new parking lot in the downtown area that was recently opened, I noticed recently that there's still no lights. I know that the city is undergoing a lighting infrastructure redevelopment thing, but it just seems very unsafe to have that parking lot unlit, very dark, and hopefully that can get taken care of. And also had a concern for the skate park, just wondering when that's going to open. I know it was looking like it was going to open ahead of schedule and under budget, and now it seems like the fences are just kind of getting ripped down and pulled back, and skaters are still skating it, but apparently it's not officially open. But other than that, since we were on the topic of traffic, I live on Citrus Avenue, North Citrus Avenue, and there are cars speeding up and down that street all hours of the day. I know people use it as a cut through to get to town site, and it's just, been a concern for me, especially with a kid who rides a bike and we skateboard, we walk to the downtown area, and just safety issues. But that's all. Thank you.
Actually, I'll ask my city manager. He can talk to you about the lighting, because I've been bugging him to get it done.
Sure. As you mentioned, we're undertaking an overhaul of the downtown lights, and the parking lot is well equipped to be lit. We have a work order in with SDG&E, and we're hopeful that next week the parking lot will be lit, and then the lighting project for the remainder of the downtown area will be finished late September, early October, but the downtown parking lot would be lit. And as it concerns the skate parks, we're hopeful that they will be complete in the next few weeks, and we're hoping to look for a grand opening date in mid-September if it works with everybody's calendars.
So it'll really be open then.
So, yeah.
Even though they're all skating there now.
Temporarily open until you make it official.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, that is the end of our oral communications. And now I'm going to do remarks. And I guess I'll start with down with Joe Green. Do you have any remarks? Oh, Councilmember Green.
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys, the late stayers. Congratulations, you made it. There's an award downstairs. I'll give it to you if you catch me before I leave. I just want to thank my council members for doing what you do. It's not an easy job. We're not going to agree on everything, but I think that we all look through it as a lens of what we think is best for Vista. And obviously, we're all elected for our own reasons. So thank you guys for being here. Thanks for representing your people. And 760-815-4872. Personal cell phone number. Call me, text me. I'm available forever. There you go. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Franklin.
Why did I have to go after Joe?
I don't know.
Joe should.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, exactly. My cell phone number is 760-689-2220, which is at johnfranklin.org, where you can find my email address and cell phone number, and have been since before I got elected. So I'm accessible at any time. Thank you for the comedy and mutual respect with which we conducted ourselves. I appreciate and respect all of you. Thank you.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The last meeting that the council had in June, I was not at that meeting because I was in Monterey attending a workshop on behalf of the city. And I just wanted to report out from that meeting, one of the most interesting speakers that we had quite a few, but the most interesting one was our Secretary of State, Alex Padilla. He came to talk to us about some of the new laws that are going to be taking effect regarding voting in California starting in 2018. And just a quick rundown on a couple of them. One of the things that they're doing is people can register to vote at the age of 16, but they can't vote until they're 18, but they can pre-register at 16. Voting will be, we have voting day, election day, but it's going to be 11 days of voting in California. And the last day would be the 11th day would be election day. And that would include Saturdays and Sundays. And people can vote anywhere. They don't have to vote in their precinct. So there are a lot of different things coming down with the new election laws, and some things that are very important that we need to pay attention to here. Anyway, so that was very interesting. There was a session also on the California Voter Rights Act, which was a very, very interesting discussion. And if we hadn't already gone through it and it wasn't moot for us, we'd be having another discussion on the Voter Rights Act as it relates to things here. So it was a very interesting meeting, and I just wanted to report out the voter rights, or the election laws that are changing. We're pretty significant, and we'll have to be aware of those. So aside from that, I want to say thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, all of the speakers who came, who put time in. Those of you who are still here, thank you very much. Staff, always appreciative of everything that you do for us and for our city, so thank you very much. My colleagues, I thank you.
You forgot your phone number.
Oh, my phone number.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that.
It's on the city website, and it's on all of my business cards. My cell phone number is out there, and people call me all the time, including 7 o'clock on Sunday morning. So keep calling.
Councilmember Aguilera.
Yeah, I think I just want to do a community service safety update, or a reminder, I guess, is better. The other day I witnessed a truck get hit by a Sprinter. So,
Saw it?
Yeah. Actually drove right up on it as it had just occurred. I was there before fire, everybody. So it's pretty scary to see that. You know, we've had, I sit on the board at NCTD. We have at least once a month an incident on the tracks. We've been pretty fortunate here in Vista. That was one of the latest ones. That gentleman survived. But but don't mess around with the tracks. It's very dangerous. The Sprinter is one thing. The trains that go down the coast, they're a lot bigger than you think and wider than most people, unfortunately, have estimated. And we've lost, contrary to what most people think, they're not all suicide attempts. Some, like the gentleman the other day, I don't know if he was on his phone or what, but he drove right through the barrier that was down and got plowed by the Sprinter. And then we've had people that take selfies by the track trying to, put it on Instagram or whatever. And unfortunately, we've lost people because of that. Again, underestimating the size of those vehicles and the speed at what they come at. So be careful. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of things here. I was going to, just a couple of things I saved. One was, I don't know if you all know that the Supreme Court finds itself in a position where they have to cut a minimum of $6 million from their operations, and so they're going to get rid of some things that are up here, and so they're going to centralize. Yeah, the Vista Courthouse.
Close it?
Oh, no, they're not going to close the courthouse. Why, you want that piece of property? for our soccer arena?
Put a park right there.
No, but I'll just tell you a couple of things they're going to do. They're going to limit the use of court-provided court reporters in family court. They're going to close small claims and unlawful detainer departments and send them down to San Diego. And, so they're going to centralize juvenile dependency operations down in San Diego. They're going to, the presiding judge and the assistant presiding judge are going to share one clerk, effectively closing one additional courtroom. So anyway, so there are just some things that are going on. So I just wanted you to be aware of that I don't know if you all knew that. And then I don't know if you want me to do this or not. I did a report on the Sandag board last Friday that what the problem was. Do you want to hear my little synopsis? Okay, I wrote this big print, but I'll tell you. Okay, so Sandag Board listened over 3 hours of testimony and an in-depth report and independent audit examination of Measure A revenue estimate by independent auditors Houston and Hennigan LLP. The firm commenced its independent examination on April 28, 2017, and I have brought this kind of a brief overview, so it's very brief and kind of not all in detail. Actually, if you want the report this is the report. If you want a copy of that, it's online. If anybody would like it, you can get it online at Sandag. But so since 1970, Sandag has extensively used a program called DEFM. It's called it's Demographic and Economic Forecasting Model, which is not an off-the-shelf program, but one tailored specifically for our San Diego region and its economy and demographics. It's an extremely complicated and complex program because of our unique counties, border, and military, with over 700 different variables that takes local, regional, and national data and generates a comprehensive forecast for the San Diego region. There's other programs available, they said, but they're that have other complicated problems associated with them. But the DEFM needs specially trained people to work with this model. So in 2004, Sandag staff incorrectly copied and pasted input third-party data into this DEFM, which caused it to forecast an inflated growth rate for regional income, and it caused all the future forecasting errors. The 2004 Sandag thing we voted on, the Transnet we voted on, was okay. It was done like after that time, so those figures were okay. So anyway, so this inflated regional income forecast led in turn to an inflated projection for taxable retail sales in the region. So approximately every 3 years, DEFM went through a series of new regional forecasts. Since 2004, every 3 years they go through another series of regional forecasts, which are used throughout the agency and for many other parts of the Regional Transportation Plan, which Sandag adopts every 4 years. Over the years, a number of important personnel who could operate DEFM retired, and Sandag was left with no full-time in-house personnel who could operate the DEFM program, which is what the problem was. The inflated retail sales projection caused Sandag to overestimate the projected revenue from the passage of Measure A, which had the forecasting error. So during the next several regional growth forecasts, no member of Sandag's modeling team, which is responsible for the updated DEFM, noticed the aggregation error or realized that it had inflated the growth rates for income and taxable retail sales. Nobody realized that these, said, nor did the expert review panel, which reviews certain parts of this DEFM update, including the income. Nobody noticed the problems. There were apparently several red flags along the way, but which were noticed but not acted on. And a part-time staff member had adjusted the numbers. When they saw the the issues, they would adjust the numbers for some reason. They couldn't figure out what the original aggregation error was. So in July 2015, they hired Ray Major as chief economist to shadow the retiring chief economist, Marnie Cox, for the next year so he could learn how to do the job. His first important task was to update the Transnet plan of finance, and in doing so, he reasoned the income and taxable retail sales and forecasts were incorrect, and they were unreasonably optimistic. He felt that Sandag should abandon the DEFM program, but he also learned that the former chief economist Cox had used the DEFM program and used the inflated taxable retail sales forecast as that he still refused to agree that it could be wrong. So Marnie Cox stated he could achieve the same growth forecast without using the DEFM program, which convinced the staff that they didn't need to change the forecast, especially since they were already rebuilding the model. So it appeared that the former chief economist Cox was somebody that the staff members felt couldn't be challenged. They thought because he'd been there so long. However, Ray Major, who's a new economist, chief economist, also didn't tell the executive director Gallegos or others because he asserted that he didn't speak up because he believed Gallegos wouldn't have trusted his opinion over Marnie Cox because he'd been there so long. He was a previous long-serving chief economist. So finally, on November 10th, 2016, 2 days after the election at which Measure A failed to pass, staff members discovered the source of the overestimated forecast for Measure A. Not until that point did they find the source of the pasting way back all those years ago. That was what it was. And so at this point, one other program Sandag created was called HANA Tools, and they created this after all this information came out as a location to store and then potentially mass delete any draft documents related to the search for Measure A forecasting error. So they created a program because they're getting requests from the public for requests, and so they created this program to store these draft documents. Witnesses have credibly asserted that Sandag never deleted any documents from HANA Tools, but this can't be confirmed. So the independent auditors found all staff willing to be forthcoming with the information that there was never an intent to deceive, there was no crime, nothing illegal occurred, it was just a thing that was ongoing. So, and it's good to keep in mind that these are always educated best future projections. Educated best future projections that don't see recessions of the future. They don't take project environmental delays or changes in bids, costs, or completion dates, or some future economic anomaly into their long-term projections. The projections don't take those into consideration. They're just kicked out of all the information that's put in, information in, information out. So the Sandag Board of Directors and independent auditors determined the organization needs improved internal procedures and more open communication between staff employees to prevent an occurrence of the breakdown that occurred, and should be more transparent in its public relations responses to issues like the Measure A forecasting error. So the next steps by the Board of Directors is to do a performance review of the performance of Executive Director Gary Gallegos and to conduct a forensic investigation of the documents stemming from the handling of them through the HANA Tools program. So if you have any questions or want more information, you can go online to Sandag. I know it's kind of complicated. It's very complicated, but it all was one thing that built on top of another from the pasting of something into that program back in 2004. So that's kind of the story behind it. I don't know if you got all of it. Sorry. Yes. Don't ask me a question I can't answer.
I want to remain quiet, but I can't. To directly quote the new chief economist, and again I quote, OMG and WTF.
Yeah.
This is the graph that was in the Union Tribune. And did you see this from the Union Tribune? Seriously, I mean, this is an approximation, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't have a printer on the dais, but this is inflation-adjusted dollars over 30 years here that had gone up and down, had fluctuated by between 5 and 10% or whatever in inflation-adjusted dollars, essentially meaning that in inflation-adjusted dollars, our economy had been pretty stagnant, okay? And then showed that, boom, we were going to have this massive growth.
What year was that?
Well, that was the future. This is the present year.
Oh.
And that was the future projection.
Yeah. At which point somebody said, whoa.
Well, any third grade math student would look at this. Certainly a first year economics student. I took 2 semesters of economics, and I could tell you that's lunacy.
Yeah.
I can't believe they didn't put it on paper in a graph.
They probably have it in this report.
I
think they're actually
appreciate
drafted
that
here.
they've hired a fancy auditor and spent a lot of taxpayer money on that. But my personal feeling is this is the kind of failure that is so egregious. Yeah, you've got it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I mean, it's even worse than I drew in my cartoon.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that
Yep,
is,
it is. It's there.
it's unconscionable. If it happened at the city, I'd be demanding somebody be fired. I just would. It's totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I have lost confidence over this in the leadership, the staff leadership at Sandag because of this. And I'm going to respectfully voice my opinion that it's time for new leadership there because
you and a lot of other people.
Unacceptable. I feel. I mean, I'm going to restrain myself because we all want to go home. But I am very, very, very upset on behalf of the taxpayers about what happened there. And hiring an auditor to try and put into 300 words what I can put into one picture, or 300 pages rather, what I can put in one picture. I'm so frustrated by that. I can't even continue on my remarks without becoming unpleasant.
But it wasn't a governance thing. The board didn't know about it, so we didn't see this. So they're trying to change the governance of Sandag with SB. Is it 405? 805, yeah, 805. Yeah, they're trying to change the governance. So it's not, and if they change the governance so that the two big cities, San Diego and Chula Vista, are in charge, the money's all going to go south, and we're going to get no money up here. So you have to realize it's not a governance thing. It was Sandag, an internal Sandag thing that the board never.
I don't blame
heard
the
about.
board. I blame the staff. I mean, we place a lot of reliance on staff, and Gary Gallegos makes, I believe, north of $400,000. He's very highly compensated. And he himself should have had a better grasp on the economic situation, or should, for such an important issue, have hired an outside consultant, not in-house, or had enough intellect for somebody that makes $400,000 to look at this graph and go, yeah, it's not right.
Yeah,
I could spot that in 2 seconds, and
Yeah, and this is just the thing that it has some interesting little facts. I folded that because you can read the facts in there. So. From the board meeting. So, you want to go home? Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sure that was all very interesting to all of you. Let me just do these few little comments and then okay, hold on. So join us for the final summer movie in the park this Saturday, August 12th at Bringle Terrace on the softball fields. The free movie Sing begins at 8 o'clock. So details are online at cityofvista.com. The Fall Vista Leadership Academy, if nobody's taken that, it begins September 13th. The Academy provides residents with the opportunity to learn more about the city and its operations, and it's a very interesting class. If you haven't taken that, it's very interesting. Registration information is online at thecityofvista.com. The latest Vista Visions art exhibit opened this afternoon in the Civic Gallery outside, just outside the council chambers. The exhibit runs through September 29th, and opening reception is being held this Saturday, August 12th, from 2 to 4. And the last thing, the third Moonlight musical of the summer, Sunset Boulevard, opens next Wednesday, August 16th. So information and tickets are available at moonlightstage.com. And if you haven't been there to the Moonlight this summer, you need to go. Oh my gosh, are you going to already tell them that about that? That the last one was the largest grossing, you could tell, largest grossing ever.
Little Mermaid was
Little
largest
Mermaid,
grossing and more tickets sold than Mary Poppins. Very
which is
successful.
amazing. So it was a wonderful show. Okay, so you get yours.
I too would like to commend everybody, especially the young man in the back there with his suit on. And after
Thanks for
4
staying.
hours, it was great.
Yay!
Speaking of phone numbers, you can reach me at 867-5309. All right. I have a few comments.
What was that number?
Well, you can dial area code 760-867-5309. All right. As summer winds down and local schools start up again, the Wave Water Park will close weekdays beginning August 14th. The Wave will be open on the weekends until September 24th and is also open on Labor Day, which is Monday. And you'll notice beginning this week, there's contractors that are going to be redoing our streets around town. So if you're interested in finding out where those are at, you can go to cityvista.com under construction projects. But do note that for the next 4 months, we'll have some construction activity around town as streets are getting improved. And lastly, the San Diego County has launched a new website that provides a map showing disaster risks such as wildfire, earthquake, and major flooding at specific locations. So you can go to the county's website at readysandiego.org for more information. Thank you.
That's it? Anything from our attorney?
Phone number.
I have nothing, not
Phone
even a cell
number.
phone.
How about our city clerk?
Just wanted to let folks know that we're recruiting youth for our student commissioner positions. Applications are due August 21st, and we have a lot already for you all to interview.
Oh, okay, great. How about Claire down there? Do you have anything? No. She's okay, with that, we are adjourned. Yay. What time is it? At 9:33.